gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Mr. Logic, baby. Come in, Mr. Logic. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, licking it down. Licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, licking it down. Licking it down, baby. If you don't know, if you don't know, rubbing it down, licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, using the breaststroke, calling it the breaststroke. If you don't know me, I can tell you about me. I've been doing this for years. Nobody stop me. I use my hand, my fingers, my tongue, and dick and all and all. I know that you want it all. You can pick one or pick it all. Baby, I can make you come out all over. Lay you on your back and don't wanna turn over. I can make you wanna come back for more and more. For sure. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, licking it down. Licking it down, baby.
Guys, give me 1 second. Trying to get this music to go.
Now you know. If you don't know, licking it down. Licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, rubbing it down, licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, using the breaststroke, calling it the breaststroke. One day, a lady from California called me. She said she needed a massage and she feeling horny.
Damn, the hell with it. What's up, everybody? I see a lot of people in different sectors up in here. I see Mona Lisa. I see Scarlett. I see my Sexy Red. What's up, Sexy Red? I'm wondering what you feel. What's up, Eyes? How you doing, baby? What's going on? What's up, Buckaboo? How y'all doing? What's up, Vicky? Please, guys, I'm trying to get things situated. I don't know why my internet is running. First of all, I want to kind of give a bit of a intro to everybody. We're going to talk about colorism. We're going to talk about colorism in the sector. My girl, Joseph. I was in the Umar Johnson sector, minding my own damn business. Loghead ass Negro gotta bring up my name for no reason. Bring my name up and use me as a goddamn example. I can't enjoy it. I clap back at your ass. The kind of bitch Can y'all hear me now? Is it better? Because I still kind of, I'm listening to my phone and it still feel kind of choppy. Can y'all hear me now? Is it better? Because I still kind of, I'm listening to my phone. So, I can't do that today. I can't do the multi-camera thing based on what's been going on. So, I'm just going to talk to you all straight up for what's going on. So I think you all can hear me better. Shout out to everybody that's in here. We got 18 in the chat. Let's get these likes up. Thank y'all for coming in. You know. You know. And like speak to clap back. Keep my name out your mouth. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm still hearing some. Okay, I'm testing it again, guys. So, can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear? Yeah, this is horrible. Okay, so I'm going to continue. So I'm basically minding my business, seeing what everybody doing, seeing what's going on in the sector. And sure enough, you got people talking about in their mouth. Seeing what's going on in the sector. And I get it, man. Everybody has an opinion. When I show my motherfucking opinion, there's a problem. You can accept everybody's opinion, but it's something how you can speak it out in regards to me, whether I feel you right or wrong. Everybody is entitled to their. However, Negroes want to get mad once I start expressing my opinion about what you said about me. Like, I don't have to say for my internet is running real raggedy today. Like, really, really raggedy. And it shouldn't be. But I'm going to say this. We need to talk about this colorism situation. What's up, Dr. Bombay? What's up, Dr. Bombay? Man, it's just slow. And it won't. Try another computer, because this ain't working at all, guys. What's up, West Bank? VD What's up, Conscious Energy? Miss Murph in the house. Yeah, my internet is running raggedy, and I can't do nothing I want to do. I don't know what and nobody's saying nothing. Okay, guys, what I'm gonna do, guys, y'all gonna have to pause. Because this is something important. I'm gonna just sit. I want to have this music playing until I get my stuff situated.
Yes, indeed. She said she wants someone to go deeper, 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 deeper with pressure. Using your tongue and your fingers. She wants to enjoy all that you have to give. Giving her body, chills. too much noise. This is reminding her of using sex toys. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, licking it down, licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, licking it down, licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, rubbing it down, licking it down, baby. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, using the best.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Calling it the breaststroke.
Let me know if y'all can hear me, guys.
I can rub it down. Call me Mr.
Okay, let me turn that off. But I was supposed to poke fun at him, man. His internet was Mr. Lyricist said the breaststroke, calling it the breaststroke. Okay, guys, so I'm back, man. So we this is a serious topic. We're going to talk about colorism. We're going to talk about how it affects the Black community. We're going to talk about how it relates to the sector itself and how you got bitch ass niggas hide behind being pro-Black when we know damn well they're not really pro-Black. And so my goal in this particular live stream is to tackle the issues of colorism and how it is being processed in the sector and in Black YouTube in general. Now, I'm going to go back to Ms. Josephine's live stream, okay? I'm going to go back to that live stream. And what I plan to do is give rise to why I felt like I had to go into that panel and to plead my case on stuff. And I'm going to be honest, Scarlett, your name did come up. They talked about things in regards to the lighter skinned women. They brought up stuff about Stargate. They brought up stuff about Scarlett, and they brought up something about breaking the culture. 3 lighter skinned women. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I look at colorism, I don't see this thing as if biracial women and lighter skinned women get these extra fucking privileges. Last time I checked, there were light skinned women that were enslaved just like the darker skinned women. When we had segregation, light skinned women were segregated just as much as darker skinned women. Light skinned women could not drink out the fountain just like darker skinned women. Yes, there were lighter skinned women who were able to pass for white, and they had to keep that act up. But as soon as a white person found out that they were Black, they were ousted out of the community. The only significant privileges that I see that light-skinned women get really comes from the Black community. It doesn't come from the white community. The Black community, through our self-hatred and our history, values lighter skin and has valued lighter skin for ages. And so lighter skinned women are preferable to Black men. And it's not just the darker skinned Black men. No, it's every shade of Black men. But see, the issue is that we can't pretend as if all light-skinned women got all of this great treatment, because that's not the case. Those that were found attractive. And let's not act like browner, more melanated women didn't get privileges if they were seen as being attractive. That's just the facts. Now, I was asked not to personalize with things with Alan Roger. But as I was hearing the chat, they were personalizing Stargate. And I love Josephine, but she was personalizing Shout out to Carrie Ann, but you all were personalizing the women and the quote unquote darker skinned men. And I don't know the shade of some of these Negroes. I don't see the difference. If light skin privileges was so great, breaking the culture wouldn't have had a hard time trying to convince Victor Cousin to marry me. What's up, Faith Factor? No, that's a gorgeous chocolate sister that I like. And she got her man. She ain't complaining. I mean, I grew up, and I talked about my history. I grew up in a Creole French-like culture in Louisiana. If anybody know anything about Creole people are descendants of white French slave masters having sex with black women, and those descendants also spoke French, and they served as a buffer between the black community and the white society. Even when the French sold Louisiana and moved out, that culture continued. Since we want to talk about privileges, those women and the descendants were used as concubines for white men, children that they would not even acknowledge. Matter of fact, that culture in itself created the historically black colleges, because if you look at the historically black colleges throughout the country, I guarantee you, particularly in the South, most of the founders were light-skinned, mulatto, quote-unquote biracial people. I want to understand, when did the biracial all of a sudden just become not black? Because if that's the case, half of the people prior to desegregation, a great portion of them were mixed. So now we no longer can use them for black history. We're going to call this biracial history now. Frederick Douglass never called himself biracial. He was black. W.E.B. Du Bois has white ancestry. Tons and tons of black men and women, whether they were in feminism, the women's suffrage movement, segregation, the civil rights movement, especially musicians, a large percent of those people had white ancestry, and they considered themselves black. A biracial person in 1795 was a slave, just like the darkest of the darkest of that time. They were a slave. So are we going to now have this, my slave master treated you better than treated me better than you argument? Is that what we're doing? There's no choosing of side. And I'm going to tell you why, because white society don't choose. There is no side. That's a function. That's the trickery of white supremacy, to make you think you have a side. They don't want you. These little extra trinkets or privileges are minor or minute, and they don't have a real effect. Look at that. West Bank says some parts of Louisiana is very racist, bro. There are dark-skinned Creoles, fair-skinned Creoles, pale-skinned Creoles. In my opinion, the light-skinned Creoles are the worst. You do have a point with that, West Bank. And I'm from that and I understand. I get you on that, because there has been generational issues with light-skinned Creoles that raise their children not to date darker than a paper bag. And I know women and men that I grew up with that were like that. I know people that lived in small little mulatto towns. There's a lot of little towns like that in the Acadiana area, around the New Orleans area, little rural towns where that people have this coloristic mind. I know what colorism looks like. I've been a victim of colorism. And what got me was that as soon as I talked about my bullshit that I had to deal with colorism, all of a sudden, oh, D. Darrell, we wasn't really talking about your skin. We was just talking about your cheeks being discolored. They got a lot of people who talked about you that is just as dark. No, they not. I'm not as light as I am on camera. I'm darker than, that's with the light shining on my ass. I am far darker for the people who have met me. And I'm gonna see that, like, let's say we on lock. Those who saw me in person, you didn't see any significant signs of my skin being discolored, but the shit looked like that because the light beaming on my black ass. And I get it. It is slightly on the right side of my cheek is slightly darker. I don't give a shit. Niggas called me Black Yoda, Black Tar Baby, burnt cheeks, everything under the sun. I didn't cry about it because I've done that shit. I've been there and done that. You know how many fights I had to get into when I was between the 5th and 8th, 9th grade, maybe early high school, with niggas talking crazy shit? Yes, I had girls that didn't want to date me when I was in middle school and high school. I was dark skinned. I ain't give a fuck. I moved on to those that like me. I ain't like the manosphere crying about women that don't want me. Girls that didn't like me back in the day because I was too black. Does colorism exist in the black community? Yes, it does. And you know why it still exists? It still exists because we keep teaching it. We keep teaching this shit generation by generation until we stop teaching colorism, until we stop yielding to the psychological programming that goes on in music and in mass media and on television with the images. Then you're going to continue to reproduce children that will act in this manner. And I'm going to be honest, Spot, it ain't even just light-skinned women. It wasn't, most of the time when there were dark-skinned girls that told me they would not date me. Like, now we fucking in high school and you thinking about us having kids and how dark and black they gonna be. Like, what the hell you think I look like at 15 worried about having a goddamn child? I actually had dark-skinned girls or browner-skinned girls tell me some shit like that when I was like 15, 16 years old. And yes, I had some light-skinned girls that did, but I seen it no matter what the shade was. I didn't give a damn. You don't like me, you don't like me. Somebody else will. And I did not have a hard time having girlfriends. Now, see, this is the thing. My opinion, that's not true. You saying Scarlett, it wasn't. We're making about color. However, D, I think the cheek comments were so much about colorism, but a discoloration to crack about. The discoloration was the fact that my skin was darker. It has everything to do with my skin tone. And see, that's the excuse that they want to use now. But then you want me to talk about the fact that when I made fun of Carrie Ann's hair, that was colorist. That was anti-black. No, I made fun of Carrie Ann hair because Carrie Ann hair wasn't kept. Had nothing to do with the texture. I have the same texture hair as Carrie Ann and most of you Negroes in this chat right now. My wife has the same texture. So how the fuck I'ma hate somebody's texture? And I told her I was capping. So can we put this shit to rest? I have no issues with Carrie Ann's hair. I have no issues with any naturally beautiful looking African American woman. Any natural black woman in here in the sector, I give comments. I've made songs about darker skinned women in other sectors. And you know I got demonized for that shit in the manosphere. They actually came down on me for making a song praising dark-skinned women. And Faith can tell you that. I don't think Sexy Red was in the space at the time, but Faith can definitely fucking sack into that shit because she was in the song. They had niggas had my song all over the goddamn space, talking shit about me because I made a song just for black, dark-skinned women. So y'all can miss me on that coloristic shit. Y'all can miss me on that. This nigga Alan Logic don't want to put. See, this is the problem with the Negro who pretends to be pro-black. Facts. They hated the song. They hated that I made a song. I'm in love with a light-skinned girl. And then I made another song at the end about dark-skinned women too. Niggas, they were triggered by that shit. I love all shades of blackness. I don't give a damn how dark you are, and I don't give a damn how light you are. If you are black, yeah, niggas was mad that I propped up Rashida. Shout out to my girl Rashida Strober, the dark-skinned activist, the first original dark-skinned activist. You got to say that shit and she'll get mad. Let me give her flowers. Beautiful sister. Beautiful sister. So I'm gonna play this. I want y'all to get where I'm coming from. Let me go ahead and do the screen share. Then I'm gonna send the link out. People can miss me, man. Like people don't even understand my character. They don't even understand my platform on YouTube. They don't even understand me as my persona. They think shit, and then if other sectors saw the shit, they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about? So this is fair use. Shout out to Josephine. Okay, fair use. So I want y'all to hear this.
Or attractive, or they can get close to them, or you saying the things that they want to hear. But 9 times out of 10, they get a free pass. They can say whatever they want.
Right. Instant victim status. And my thing is just this. Beautiful Bernice is saying, get over them. I want to be clear. Like, I'm discussing this. It's worthy of discussion. This reverse Uno colorist bullshit these dumb hoes are trying to pull is worth speaking about, Beautiful Bernice. But I'm not bothered because my thing is, even if these women convince their entire audience that I was the colorist who targeted them, I could not care less. Just like, see, a prostitute get called a prostitute and she mad. When they call me ugly, I'm not bothered. Like, I mean, okay, go with that. I Typo Spengali be doing whole videos about.
And I'm gonna say this. Shout out to Carrie Ann because she do have a point. Now, is there some inequitable experiences with biracial or lighter skinned women than darker skinned black women? Yes, I do. And I know, and like I said, I don't see a significant difference, but there is a difference, particularly those who can pass as being white, particularly those that is so ambiguous that a white person or another race may not know who they are. But to me, I don't see the significant difference because, like I said, a mulatto woman in 1815 was a slave, just like a black, any other darker skinned black woman. They were all slaves. So I want us not to be, let's not fall into that trap of my slave master treated me better than you. This slave, this house slave versus field Negro mentality of who is treated better and who's given more privileges. The issue that I'm concerned about is that the black community within does not adopt white ideology towards skin tone and discriminate against people in our own society. And that's what we have failed at. The issue is not that white people don't respect darker skinned people, because they don't give a damn about any black person as a society. It's not their job to value us. But you know what? It's our job to value our own group. It is our job as black people to uplift the self-esteem of young brown and dark chocolate females and boys. It is our responsibility not to laugh at your mama so black jokes, your daddy so black, you so black. We're the ones laughing at these jokes. Those are all coloristic jokes that speak to the pathology of black people due to slavery. This is what the black community, let's have a serious discussion about color, because we laugh when other people say, you so black, you look like the night, you look like the smoke screen and all this other shit. Nobody laughs at jokes that say you are so light, you blind me or some dumb shit like that. Nobody laugh at light skin jokes. People laugh at you so black jokes. The bottom line, our condition is not better by being lighter. Our condition is the same no matter how light you are or how dark you are. If you are defined by being black, you are black and you are treated accordingly, regardless. There are just as many light-skinned black men locked up in prison right now, getting 25 to life, as any other dark-skinned black man that created, that participated in the same act. Exactly. We created that. So let us not fall into that. Now let me continue, because I want you all to hear what Alan was talking about
how she's more attractive to me than men, and no man would ever want me. Like, why would I give a fuck? Like, run with that. Go off, sis. Whatever. But I mean, I'm still gonna talk about how crazy you sound to me. This shit is fucking bizarro world.
I agree.
Oh, beautiful Bernice, it's content. I think it's worth talking about. But please believe me, I'm not about to start doing videos in a dark, dungy bathroom, washing my hair to proof it. Like,
oh shit, I got G Gates up in here. So I know G Gates, he's a lighter. He's on the lighter end of the spectrum. So I know he's going to have something to say. We got people of every shade. I'm going to be sending the link up so people that want to talk and give their position, you can give it.
I'm good. I'm not trying to prove shit to nobody. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Vici. Welcome to the chat sector.
Here go Alan with his bullshit. Now listen to who the first name he talks about.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
How's it going?
Oh man, cold chilling. It's good to see all my cousins up here. Look, let's talk about these guys, man.
Now, when he talk about these guys, he's meaning me.
Let's talk about the colorism that's went on in this sector, okay? Or just the total disrespect, the total disregard for Black women and their features. I can talk about what D. Darrell first did and said.
Stop. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? The first name that came out of his fucking mouth I remember what D Darrell did. Let's go back. Let's go back.
Like, I mean, okay, go with that. Afro Bengali be doing whole videos about how she's more attractive to me than men, and no man would ever want me. Like, why would I give a fuck? Like, run with that. Go off, sis. Whatever. But I mean, I'm still gonna talk about how crazy you sound to me. This shit is fucking bizarro world.
I agree.
Beautiful Bernice, it's content. I think it's worth talking about. But please believe me, I'm not about to start doing videos in a dark, dungy bathroom, washing my hair to prove it. Like, I'm good. I'm not trying to prove shit to nobody. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Vici. Welcome to the chat sector.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
How's it going?
Oh man, cold chilling. It's good to see all my cousins up here. Look, let's talk about these guys, man. Let's talk about the colorism that's went on in this sector, okay? Or just the total disrespect, the total disregard for Black women and their features. I can talk about what D Darrell first did and said to Carrie Ann.
Notice again, my name had to come up. This nigga got mad at me for having to take up for you talking about me first.
Thought it was funny that he could come out here and he wanted to talk about somebody's hair. I mean, that was the first sign for me. And whether you're
was that anti-Black, Alan? I hate to interrupt you, but when D Darrell went after my hair, was that anti-Black?
No, it was a reaction to anti-Blackness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, you cool. You cool. Yeah. Look, the words and the terms are always going to be hard. It's going to be getting the words right is very important, man. That's why we got things like dictionaries and stuff like that. Getting the words right in any situation, I think, is going to be key. And the reason that a lot of people are able to run around and do and say the things that they do and say, like colorism, reverse racism, and stuff like that, it comes out because we really haven't become masters of words yet. We really haven't nailed the words down. And
Negro, you're not a master of words. This nigga who talking this shit right now don't even date Black women. Let me repeat. This Negro talking right now probably never dated a Black woman in his adult life. But you have the right to talk about who's Black and who's not Black, and D Darrell talking negative about a Black woman's features in her hair. We got the same fucking texture of fucking hair. This is the gall of this Negro to say this shit. But niggas got to sit and listen to this. I got to sit, but I can't come and protect myself.
And made them mean and use them to reflect phenomena that we actually see outside our doors. So yeah, that's going to be one of the things that we have to do, redefining the world based on truth. I mean, that which is the things that are actually happening and not the things that we're imagining are happening. That's a hard process. But like I said, I can remember when Darrell did it. I can also remember when Let Me See Your
My name come up again.
Transcripts first came out. That was one of the things that I had said when I was still talking with the AFW was that, man, look, I don't agree with you.
Then you want to talk about being an AFW. Now you came in here criticizing the woman that your nose was up her ass, but now all of a sudden you want to have a change of heart about everything that they did when you participated in the shit because you was a thirsty Negro behind trying to get clout.
With you guys, one, trying to fat shame. But I saw something more sinister in the background. I think they were trying to shame Let Me See Your Transcripts for being an undeniable, unambiguous Black woman. I don't think that I know that. And those are things, those have been the running themes. And I want to go back to what Sister Carrie said about.
It's up to us to decide that if we're going to co-sign to it or not. So you can talk about Black women issues all day you want to, but if we disagree or, like I said, we're not monolithic. So some Black experiences are different than others. Some Black, like a lot of things that people don't know is, Nikki was part of fraternity, and the fraternity that she was part of, those women are assertive and carry themselves exactly like she does. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is that they wouldn't know that because they don't know too much about the Black experience when it comes to HBCUs, when it comes to fraternities, that group of people that come together. And then you have the people that are like, and
now I want to make this point, and like again, I sent the link for anybody that wants to come up, who wants to shed light and discuss this. I am not going to participate in any gender war rhetoric. I do think as Black men, we do have the right to speak on Black issues, whether it's pertaining to Black women or Black men. And Black women have the right to speak on Black men issues, whether it's Black women or Black men. And the reason why is because we collectively need each other. We need each other. We thrive with one another. And it is beneficial for us to critique one another, regardless of sex, about issues that may be somewhat limited to gender. So my sentiments are different. I have the right to have my opinion. If Black women want to criticize issues as it relates to Black men, they have the right to do so, and I have the right to do so in regards to Black women in a constructive manner that consists of solutions. Because at the end of the day, we are Black people. We're not a separate demographic. We interact with each other naturally, and we need one another to survive. And that's just the fact. You cannot have Black men without Black women. You cannot have Black women without Black men. Okay? What's up, G Gates?
What's cracking, man? How's my sound, man? How's my sound? Sound check.
You got a little bit something going on in the background, but you good.
You know, that's my damn embroidery machine. I figured, let me walk in the crib then. Let me go in the house. Yeah, I knew that shit was going to be too loud.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more of the video while you
go ahead.
Situate, okay?
Yeah, do your thing, bro. Do your thing.
People that are educated or professionals in the sector versus the people that just got a regular high school diploma. And the thing about it is, I don't think that a person should have to adjust their conversation to figure out what grade level or comprehension level that you are at. You know, if you know, they say most of America reads at an 8th grade level anyway. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the Black community, it's less, especially the poor.
I think it's really cruel. I think it's a really cruel attack for a biracial woman to not only accuse but mock Black women who do bleach their skin when she knows that those Black women are just trying to get access to the type of privilege that she has.
Now, I got to stop at that. Now, that is true that Black women do engage in that, and also Black men do the same too. However, I don't know a lot of Black people who've done that and been successful at gaining. See, this is the thing. You're engaging in this self hating act, but it doesn't yield any real significant gains. That's the reality of it. Skin bleaching. Matter of fact, African Americans as a whole don't do that. Now it's a big thing in Africa. But African Americans don't bleach their skin like that in a significant manner. I would like to know all these great gains that Black women and Black men are getting from bleaching their skin. Because at the end of the day, the white people still know you're Black. That's not going to change. What's up, G?
What's cracking, man? I know we had a discussion a while back. You know, when Dee was on the panel. So yeah, it was a while back. And I just want to touch on something that you said a little earlier when you said that light-skinned folks didn't have it as bad as darker-skinned folks.
No, I didn't say that. No. I didn't say that.
What did you mean? Come on, D.
I said we had it just as bad, but there were instances, particularly that they had some small level of privilege, but not at a significant level. No, they did have it. I don't know when you caught where I came in, but I talked about stuff as far as what was the white. I said lighter skinned Black people are in the fields working just as hard as any dark skinned person in slavery, desegregation, Reconstruction, etc.
Yeah, I heard that part. And well, forgive me if I heard wrong, but I thought I heard you say that. Yeah, I thought I heard you say that. I was just coming up to like, nah, hell no, we had it bad too. Shit, I mean, and I get it.
Why don't you speak to that? Go ahead. Why don't you just speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, because just coming up like in the, back in the day, it may be a little different now. It may be a little different now, but coming up in the 70s, the early 80s, as bright as I was, we're basically a minority in the black community. You know what I mean? So you
Yep.
basically I mean, I got so tired of explaining my blackness to black people, it was ridiculous. It's like,
Right.
damn, both my parents are light skinned. It was like almost there. It seemed like every day. And then everybody want to test you because everybody think you soft. And see, that shit still goes on to the day.
That
Goes on
is
till to this day. They just
especially
think
for men.
lighter. Yeah, they think you just soft automatically, so you get tried out. I had so many goddamn fights, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was. They think you a pushover. And
Right.
the shit, even to this day, my partners, they fuck with me. It don't bother me. It just is what it is. Like you say, I've heard all the dark skin jokes. You hear that shit, tar baby. It was like, it's ridiculous, and we really don't, think about that shit as it, really having an effect on. But when you think about it, it's like damn, because if I heard light bright Casper, go, I didn't heard it all. I
Right.
didn't heard
Right.
it all. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I don't, for it to still be going on today, it's kind of crazy, but it is what it is, man.
Yeah, but
You know,
you showed your wife who's darker than you.
right? Uh-huh.
So my thing is that I'm actually glad. I wasn't expecting you to come up because I know you got business and stuff to do, but I'm actually glad that you came up because you actually have two black parents, and to me you look almost or even lighter than breaking the culture of silence. And
Right.
that was what I was trying to point to. How do you feel about Alan basing your level of how black you are based on how ambiguous you are perceived?
Man, you know what? I mean,
That's
if
dangerous. That's
I
dangerous.
mean, I don't really try to judge what other people kind of, do. I watch it. I watch it and I kind of look at it. That was my first time really hearing about a scale, to be honest with you. So it was kind
Right.
of new to me. It was kind of new to me, but I'm not going to sit up here and bash the scales or sit up here and say, oh, that's wrong. He shouldn't be doing it. Hey, if that's the way he want to rock and if that's the way he's judging, if whether a person is black or not, hey, I mean, more power to him. I mean, I'm not going to go off no scales. I'm not gonna do that. But hey, if
But,
that's what he like want to do,
yeah, I don't want to say it in a manner to make it, like I don't want to create a beef or create any animosity.
mm-hmm.
But I'm offended by that because what that tells me is that you are making a pre-notion about somebody without even knowing their family history. See, a person could look at you and say you mixed, but you're not,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll make and treat you in such a way which you have experienced by testing your blackness based on how you look. That's not fair.
That makes sense. I
And
mean, that
so,
makes sense when you put it like that. That makes sense.
yeah, so my position is instead of prejudging someone or making all these to me ridiculous and offensive statements about somebody, why don't you engage in conversation to get to know someone before you make a determination of how black they are or are they not? That to me is the responsible thing to do. Create a
And
conversation, have some dialogue. Don't just go up and say some crazy shit or treat somebody a certain way just because you think that they mama black, mama white, or they dad white and stuff like that. It's like, hey, have a conversation. What's your background? Where you from? Stuff. Just create a dialogue that you can learn about somebody before you make any type of inferences about them.
before the yeah, I mean that makes sense when you break it down like that. I don't, like I said, I don't try to get on here and judge what anybody else is on here. I try not to. I don't say I haven't before. I try not to. That's
Yeah,
why
I get it. I
I
know,
try to be a
man.
better listener. I'm trying to become a better listener and hear different perspectives before I jump off the ledge and say some shit that I got to backtrack on. You know what I mean? And that's why I like getting different perspectives and hearing a different person's views, because when the way you just put it, now it kind of makes me see the other side of it.
Right.
I seen Alan's side of it. He's say why he's doing it. Now I see your side of it, and your side makes sense. But at the same time, Alan is probably still going to do what Alan does, but we shouldn't prejudge based off how someone looks and just say, okay, they haven't had a black experience just because they look a certain way, you know, because some people look totally. I done seen basically like white boys who've had a black experience because all they've been around is black people all their damn life, you know. And if their skin was a different color, you wouldn't even know, you know. So
Okay.
I get it.
So my thing is you want to determine. See, I'm not going to. It's when you're looking at the whole issue of someone being black or being less black. When you're trying to quantify it to the fact of the percentage of how black you are, you cannot do that with efficacy in any social situation. Oh, that person, they 45% black. Oh, this person 75. Like what measuring stick are you going to use to accurately determine that? See, we gotta see what it is. I get it, guys. People say some shit you ain't never heard, and you get enamored with it and think, "Oh wow, he coming up with this." This is nothing new. This is what white supremacy have done that even caused the one drop rule. Okay, let's not be aloof to that. I mean, there are plenty of people. There are plenty of people who are who actually have that type of mindset, and it is not fair for anybody to go around subjectively determining how black you are or how black you're not, just on the basis of how you look, without knowing you and without knowing your perspective of anything about you. You're just basing it strictly on physical, and that's my perspective, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this live stream. And it's not necessarily get at Allen, because Allen is irrelevant. He got the little DBA. I don't give a shit about any of that. I mean, I care less about you trying to clout chase for the sector. My position is, when you came up on the panel, the first name you mentioned was my name being colorist towards Carrie Ann. And you used examples of what you felt how I was being colorist. Now, I basically just came in to listen and chill out this morning just to get my day going. And here you go speaking to me in a certain manner. So I come up, G Gates, to speak up for myself. And you get offended because I want to speak about, to correct what you were thinking. I feel like I have the right to do so. Anybody has the right to speak on themselves. That's just a fact. You have a right, if somebody says something in regards to you, you have a right to speak for yourself.
Right, definitely. And I was actually trying to catch the live, because I did catch Allen's live, but I didn't really know what was going on. So as you went live, I was listening to Josephine's, but I didn't get to the part where you jumped up on there yet.
I'm getting ready to show. I'm getting ready to show that right now, and you can tell me what you think. Now, I want you to keep in mind, when I went up there, I got interrupted. They basically spoke for an hour, actually an hour and 2 minutes before I even came up. Now I speak and I get interrupted. Now listen to this.
Okay, I'm a mute. I'm a mute also.
The world in the terms that they see fit, because black people are what? They're the most victimized on the planet. So guess what? You have every right to do that, because something that we're doing is not correct. Like I said, take the DSM-5, for example. You've got this book.
First of all, Allen is not qualified to critique the DSM-5, but let me continue.
You got this diagnosis, right, for black people. And you've only had a handful of black therapists come through that could actually speak to anti-blackness. I think that when we go to sometimes these mental health providers and things like that, we don't have people that are coming from a base that these people have been victimized by a system of anti-blackness.
Allen, they actually do now have therapists that are coming from the place of anti-blackness, and they are understanding what anti-blackness is. You just can't go in the world and just say, I'm going to pick that therapist.
Right. But I like Akbar. I like Dr. Bobby Wright out of Chicago. I do Dr. Wilson and work that she did. Some people disagree with it, but she had some genius work that she.
Now let me say this. Now he's talking about the DSM, which is psychology based. He's talking about Dr. Chris. I know Dr. Naeem Akbar. I met him before. I actually met Dr. Chris Wilson about a year before she passed away. Dr. Chris Wilson is against interracial relationships and he's sitting there with an Asian cameraman. But you want to talk about anti-blackness and who's pro-black or who this and that. See, this shit don't even make sense. But let me continue.
One driver.
Right.
I know she was. That's what I don't agree with as far as me and her are concerned. Yeah. Right.
All right. So I'm gonna let D Darrell speak, and we're gonna keep it cool. We're gonna keep it light over here. Okay. This is the chat sector.
If y'all get the question, I'm gonna hop off.
This is not everybody else. Okay, now go ahead, D Darrell.
Well, Josephine, thank you. I definitely wanted to come up since people were speaking on my name. I felt it was and I'm entitled to some means of speaking for myself. Now, the discussion in regards to the things that
I apologize for the choppiness. Had bad Wi-Fi.
I have said about and it being
You're
perceived
going in and out. You're going in and out, D Darrell. Let's see if you can fix that.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Really? I hear him clear.
That's better. That's better.
Okay. So in regards to that, in anybody that has known my persona on YouTube and know me personally, not a colorist. Anybody that knows me personally and so forth, no anti-blackness. I am pro-black. I always have been pro-black. Always has been.
Hold on. What is pro-black? I hate to interrupt. What is pro-black? Somebody.
Again, as soon as I talk, I get interrupted.
Break that down for me.
Well, I'm gonna say this, Alan. When you start dating black women, then we can have that discussion.
Now let me stop. Now, one would say I took a low blow at him. Shout out to Auntie for saying that when you start dating black women, then we can have that discussion. But realistically, one of the fundamental behaviors of someone that's pro-black is to have a black family and date and marry and have black children with a black wife. That's just fundamental.
Has Alan ever claimed to be pro-black?
Well, my thing is, he didn't claim to be pro-black, but I told him I'm not willing to have a conversation with him. If you want to criticize me being pro-black, and you want to talk about what is pro-black, then you need to have a black wife. When you start dating black women, then we can have this discussion. Now, I'm gonna say this, G Gates. Alan claims he's not pro-black, but some of the rhetoric that he says is kind of gray areas in regards to what's being pro-black or for black people. What he likes to coin is the term participate in behaviors, I think, that don't hurt black people or something like that. It's something of those lines that he likes to say. Like, look, if you don't want to go by the pro-black moniker, that's fine. But what you're not going to do is criticize me for my pro-blackness and you not even with a black woman. So from a pro-black perspective, I have a right. If you're going to criticize me for being pro-black, then I have to criticize you for not being pro-black. I think that's equal.
Right. Can I ask you one more question before you continue with the video?
Sure.
So do you think do you disqualify Alan because who he's laying with? As far as talking about black issues.
I disqualify Alan because of who he laying with. Yes.
So he can't talk on, so so he's not qualified to speak on any black issues?
No.
See, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
That's fine. And I get
go ahead.
And I'm gonna tell you why I believe he's disqualified. Because if you cared about black people so much, you'll be with one. That's just it. Now I know that's very simplistic, but that is a problem in our community, that there's so many people who claim that they're for black people, but they're always doing other things with other groups of people. And see, there are a lot of people who claim that they're pro-black and they're fake and they phony. And I'm tired of seeing fake, phony people claim that they're so much for black people, and then in their real life, they're doing behaviors that are against that. I don't see, you can't convince. I don't think a Klansman has a problem not dating black women. I don't see Klansmen married to black women saying they still KKK. But it's always a black man or black people in general that claim that they so much for the people, but then your life reflects other things outside of the community. You have to be consistent.
But see, D, that's a bad comparison because.
No, it's not. Because
well,
okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the only reason I'm gonna say it's a bad comparison because you're using the KKK, which they're known to hate. They hate black people. Now I can understand if Alan came on here and said he hate other races, but he's gonna marry one or be with one. That would be be a contradiction of what he said.
Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase then. So if you use any typical all-American guy that grew up in a lifestyle that was minimal of black people, and he basically talks about how he loves the white community, and he's a activist for the rights of white people and stuff like that, and uplifted his group of people. But then you turn around and you marry a black person. That is a contradiction to the white community. Not saying you hate them, but you basically profess to live a life that is solely for your people, but you turn around and marry somebody outside. I'm gonna say this, G Gates. It's a reason why there are so many communities that say don't date a black man, don't date a black person. You do realize that, right?
Now explain.
Yeah, there are a lot of groups of people. The Asian community, don't date a black man, don't date a black woman. The Hispanic community, you can date a white person, you could date this, but don't date a black person. They drug dealers, they criminals and all this other stuff. This is the type of racism that goes on in other groups. I don't understand why a lot of black people are naive to the fact of the racism of other people outside of the black community. Like John Henry Clark once said, we don't have any friends. We don't. The white community is not our friend. I'm not speaking bad of all black people, but all white people. But as a community, those group of people are going to do behaviors that benefit them as a whole. We're the only group of people think we need other people in order to benefit and thrive. Other people don't think that way.
Right.
And so when you start doing, and even so much, even some of the Africans, the indigenous Africans that come here, teach their children not to date African American people. That's how deep this shit run international.
Right, and that's more of how we have been painted, through media and all that. It just trickle down. This is like, all right, black folks is bad. So I get it. I understand where you're coming from. I understand where you're coming
from. So I'm not trying. And again, this is not against Alan himself. I'm just attacking the fact that you coming up with these different theoretical notions, but your own natural behavior is inconsistent with the stuff that you're teaching. But let me continue.
Discussion. Wrong. Come on, man. So stop throwing up logical fallacies. See, that's the thing. You can't get off that. I'm asking you to define something you said. What is pro-black?
Brother,
what is pro-black?
Interrupting me. Date a black woman for black things you can do.
That's got nothing to do with the question.
Somebody in your race.
That's not nothing. That's got nothing to do with the question.
Wait.
Am I going to be able to talk? Let me know when I can talk.
Okay, well, that's a low blow. We want to.
Yeah, see, that's all. Yeah, topic. Exactly.
Wait.
No,
exactly.
I'm part of being pro dating and mating and procreating with someone that reflects who you are.
Listen, having discussions about things that you're saying out of your mouth has nothing to do with what I'm doing.
Listen. And I'm saying this, Josephine, because
so you don't think that's a fair question?
Right, that is a fair question. So D-Darrell,
it is a fair question.
D-Darrell was on the part that I was kind of like getting him to say. So go ahead and say that part. But
that is part of what we are actually witnessing, the epitome of anti-blackness from someone who claims to is credible to speak on the DSM-5, who wants to talk about the scales, but at the end of do certain things outside of his community. You see, that has been an indicative issue within the black community of people who claim to be for the black in our fairness of reality, they choose to do things that are anti-black. Tell you what you should be doing in the community, as far as doing positive, promote the community. Now, when it comes to the colorism situation, I look at I was raised based in the culture and the community. I grew up in Louisiana that has a percentage of light-skinned people. I don't look at lighter-skinned people as being exotic or anything, because I know people that are lighter than breaking the culture, and they have two black. I look at all black people, whether you are, if you have at least, I consider you a black person. Now that's my personal opinion. It's not anybody individually can believe whatever they want, because there have two black parents that look lighter and look more European than breaking the. And I can show you receipts of that.
Agree 100%.
So when someone is in that manner, I base them on their value system, their behavior with black people in relation to how they interact with white people. My historical shows that I don't see ambiguous looking black people being treated than non-ambiguous looking black people. I've seen them called the N-word. I've seen them. I've seen people that are seen in that particular way. I've seen people lose their jobs and other different things, called different names, made the same way. But also, when we're looking at these,
Wait, you think biracial women get treated the same as black women, D-Darrell? You think they're treated the same?
Women who are basically classic African features are not necessarily treated the same, but they're both not being treated good. That's
where you're trying to issue. Now let me stop there. Now, G Gates, I'm basically in line, like you just talked about, because you came up with the thing about, are you saying light-skinned people are don't get treated just as bad? Now, I kind of made reference to that in that statement. Now, Carrie Ann has the right to disagree. Obviously, Alan had the right to disagree with that. But my position was that biracial women that are mixed with black and white are not significantly treated better than black, regular, I guess, average, regular looking black people. I think for the most part, they experience just as much stuff, but just in different ways. That's just my position.
Right. And I agree with that 100%. I definitely see it. I see the quote unquote light skin privilege, but like you said earlier, they don't give a fuck about any of us. You're black, you black. You know what I mean? It is right. What it is. But I definitely see it. I see it like, well, I don't have to really explain, but I've definitely experienced it. I'm like, oh, how did I get away with that? You know what I'm saying? It's there. It's a subconscious thing, and I don't think we look at it, but everybody was affected. I forgot the lady. She did a study. I forgot what it was called. It was have you heard of Dr. Joy LaGrue? You've heard of her, right?
Dr. Joy LaGrue with the
critical something. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. That was like a great piece that she did.
Right.
And I forgot my point what I was going to bring up with that whole thing. But yeah, I definitely see it. It's definitely. Oh no, this what I was going to say. In that piece, she was saying everybody was affected by slavery, even the white people today. Subconsciously, they're still affected by it. I like when I go hang out, happy hour, you see a group of black folks, especially if they dark skinned. You know how we get in the bar, we loud. White folks get nervous, they get Like, oh, you guys gotta quiet down. You can have the same amount of white folks get loud, rowdy, no one says nothing. And I believe that's just a subconscious thing when they see black folks, especially if you're darker skinned, they get nervous. This is just like an automatic trigger that they like, oh, this is a loud, dark skin. Don't be tall. Don't have a little weight on you because you're automatically aggressive. You're about to start some shit. So I definitely see it all the time. So
right. So and my point to this is that like Scarlett just stated, biracial or light-skinned privilege is real in my opinion, but that doesn't exempt you from racism and prejudice. Now, I stated this. I want to know, I understand some level of preferential treatment that lighter skinned biracials may receive in regards to dating and stuff like that. Like, you know, there are a lot of black men who have a preference for lighter skinned women and women also for men. But when I'm talking about real privilege, I don't see white people giving significant privilege to biracial or light skinned people. I don't.
no, I don't.
I see them being subjected to the same shit. That's just me.
But they are more accepted. They're more accepted. They are.
They are somewhat more accepted, but they still have to succumb to the same bullshit.
Right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you may get in the door a little quicker, or you know, maybe invited or something like that. But at the end of the day, they see you the same way long term, and from a long term perspective, if you make somebody mad or you do something they don't like, they're gonna remind you of what they think you are.
Right. I mean, if you just look at society in a whole, man, like all these, never mind. Go ahead, man. Continue, man. I'm not even gonna throw that out there.
Okay.
Hey.
What he's trying to do is base his. What he's trying to do is base his thing on.
Brother,
can I finish my?
She hotter than the baddest black woman. These bitches be getting treated. They could be the most busted looking biracial bitch on the planet, and it's niggas that will hop off the porch swinging for them. Come on, D. Darrell. I'm gonna let you speak your speech, but
no. Hey, look, man. He's basing this whole thing off of white and non-white, and that is not the paradigm on the planet. It is not white and non-white.
I would like to have the ability to
notice, guys. I was there, came in at the minute. I couldn't even speak for 8 minutes, and I was interrupted by Alan. Alan spoke for like 30, 40 minutes. I get up there for 9 minutes. I couldn't get a thought out.
Give a response.
All right.
You haven't even answered what pro-black is, Joe, and I would dare you to hold him to the question.
Wait. I think D. Darrell answered it by saying pro-black means a person that will date in his race, marry in his race. What else did you say? Help
and conform with the race,
right?
Itself.
And just be all throughout the race. So that was his definition. Okay. Now, as for Alan and his caremate situation, is this: I heard Alan say, "Listen, don't, my situation. I get it. However, don't, I'm saying that I'm not saying that what I'm doing is part of." Everything that's pro-black. I am agreeing with everybody when I say this is, pro-black is what it is. Being black is what it is, regardless of my choices.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying.
But Josephine,
you didn't
what I'm saying as far as pro-black is it.
If we're going to talk about,
that's not what I'm saying. Pro-black is this. Pro-black is not mistreating black people. That's my definition of pro-black. Right, so not mistreating black people.
Right, but you were saying that regardless of the caremate that you have.
I'm gonna stop there. Pro-black has to mean more than just not mistreating black people, but also helping black people and helping black people as a whole move forward, as a community, as a group of people. We could not mistreat one another, but we're not partaking in behaviors to improve or forward the race itself. You're just having a group of people that just don't mistreat. That does nothing for its long-term growth. I mean, that's part of it, but you have to capitalize on that for unity, educational wise, economic wise, spiritually wise. I mean, it has to go deeper than that.
You feel that as long as you're not mistreating Black people, right, that you're pro-Black, regardless of who you date. Is that
I don't
true?
use the term pro-Black. I don't even use it.
Well, you know what I mean. You're being, what's the term you use?
My
What's the
term is
term?
not mistreating Black people. That's all I say. Because
Right,
pro-Black is really not a pro-Black. I mean, like I say, that's not a thing, and especially for people who can't even define what a Black
not a
person is.
thing,
Right, so
So what I say,
you hate, you don't
not
value
practicing
Black
anti-Blackness.
That's the
is
problem.
about as pro-Black.
Black
But see,
women.
once again, Joe, this is
You
what we're
don't-
doing is
you
we're
don't
throwing up
respect
straw men.
them,
It
you
makes
choose
no
not to
difference.
date them.
but I think
It makes
You
no
are
difference.
fraud,
If
Alan.
what I'm saying, if what
You
I'm saying
hate
is
Black
correct,
women,
what
Alan.
I'm saying is
Just
true.
admit you hate
okay.
All D-Rail wanted to do was get up here and
Alan.
argue with
You don't
somebody.
hate us,
That's all he
D-Rail.
wants to do.
He don't.
He
Listen,
hate Black women.
I
How
don't
can
think.
you even say make it
You
sound
hate
like that?
Black
How do you know
women,
that?
Alan.
D-Rail, where's the proof that you hate somebody? Racism, anti-Blackness is proof of hate. Where is
You
the
are
hate at?
anti-Black. You're
Okay.
participating.
D-Rail, I didn't talk about Carrie's
Black
features.
woman.
I didn't talk about
That is
Carrie's natural
anti-Blackness
hair. You did that.
in itself.
Hold
Even
on.
though you supposedly are married.
I muted everybody.
I
Y'all are
muted again.
muted. Okay. Let me have the floor. Okay. D-Rail, you are entitled to your opinion to believe that what you define as anti-Blackness is what it is. Alan's saying that he does not believe in the philosophy of anti-Blackness because in his mind, Blackness is as long as you're not mistreating Black people, then you are practicing Blackness, period, regardless of who
That is
you're
a
with.
contradiction.
Right.
That's a contradiction because Alan has exercised his right to choose to in any way benefit somebody that is not a Black woman.
Right.
So that's
However,
that is not getting or gaining.
However,
because of Alan's choice.
But however,
Hold on, we're not going to discuss me like I'm not here.
You brought
my
name up.
But listen. But you don't know what type of Asian woman he's with because they're Asian women of different.
But that Asian woman.
However, right. But here's the thing.
A man with no care mate at all can't sit up and tell me about my care mate. A person with nobody can't tell me about a care mate. See, that's what I'm saying. Look, watch this, Joe. How can you talk about a care? No, you don't. You got a mistress in Dallas that you go see. You got a mistress in Dallas that you go see. Are you cheating on your care mate?
You would have a Black care mate.
Are you cheating on your care mate?
Benefiting from your.
So now he wants to go into this thing about he talking about me having a care mate. I got a goddamn wife. I've been married for 18 years. He talking about a goddamn care mate. Man, this is why you can't take this brother serious. Right. You cannot take this brother serious. He's a clown. He came into this sector trying to be an anti-fraud warrior. That didn't work out. Now he's trying to create his own DBA chat and all this other different stuff. When he first came in this chat, this nigga was begging me to and I can show y'all the emails of that shit. This nigga was begging me to debate him. Now he created this shit and he wanna argue.
If you're cheating on your care mate, you can't talk to me about my care mate.
Don't, Alan. I know it's
you do not have a woman in that house. We have looked at you, man. You're not married to
come out.
All right, see, y'all getting muted again. We're not going to personalize this anymore. You guys are moving away.
Everybody personalize. Everybody on that panel personalize. If you want to say me and Alan personalized stuff, shout out to Josephine and Carrie Ann, but they personalized shit with Stargate, and I'm gonna show y'all and Scarlett, everybody else. We all did it. We all guilty.
Away from the topic. Agree to disagree. We're not gonna do. Y'all want to go back and forth about each other's care mates and whoever else. Y'all could do that on that panel. Because if I wanted a panel like that, I definitely would be doing that. So I'm gonna go ahead and
out of here. Go. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna do this. I'll do this on my show. And
right, but
yeah, have a good time. I will too. Have a good fucking time.
Now see, he decided to leave when he confronted. You see that bullshit he pulled? Now you want to leave,
man.
See, this is the whole shit I'm talking about, G Gates. You saw he brought my name up, but now when I come up to defend myself and challenge you on your shit, now I can't deal with this. Now I gotta go pull a lie. I gotta go create a live to talk this. But you should have not even mentioned my name. I mean, I'm not telling nobody what they can and cannot talk about, but you're not gonna talk about me in a certain way. You think I'm not gonna respond. You already know how I am. So you did what you did. I have the right to take up for myself.
Y'all,
right,
man.
indeed.
And I'm gonna say, I want to say this.
See, hold on,
just
stop
a
real
minute.
quick.
I didn't come here to
I
blow up.
know,
I didn't.
because I didn't
I
want
didn't
it
come.
to be.
I didn't come here to blow up the panel. I can't self
Yeah.
because he brought my name up in regards to me participating in coloristic act. He didn't have to bring my name up.
And then Carrie Ann corrected him and said what she said, and you didn't hear that part because Carrie Ann was there, and only she can say what she experienced being on your channel. Now, I had to mute everybody because and we could talk about the Indo civilization and the Nubian civilization all day long on another live because that's my thing. Now, what I want to say, behaviors. D. Durrell don't like, how he came at him and vice versa, and Carrie Ann don't like, the comments, and that's fine, right? At the end of the day,
there's no comments that bother me,
right? But at the end of the day, when I'm saying, well, when he says Caramate and when he makes those comments, but at the end of the day,
that don't bother me. I just think you sound dumb. And I'll go ahead, finish your point. I'm sorry.
But at the end of the day, we all stand for, and we all can agree on that we are not against blackness. We love our black self. We love black people. We want to see black people. Right. But see, the thing about it is that Deidre, this is what I want to say. And I agree with you because you probably was caught off guard by it, just like a lot of us was, right? But let me just.
Well, I want to bring this up about Stargate. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
By saying these or these black this and that. Yeah, I could have been more firm with that.
Give me 1 second.
Like mothers.
Okay, here it goes.
Deidre, you gotta have the same fire for Stargate when she was sitting.
I see they bringing up the stuff about Stargate
on a panel calling us low-class black nigger bitches. You
this
get what I'm
saying?
Can I comment on that?
Swinging out the clouds?
Yes, you can comment on that.
Okay, so number one, when Stargate said that, and when she said stuff similar to that on my panel, I told her that wasn't right. I didn't laugh and kiki when she started saying, because she said multiple times, and I'm like, Stargate, stop, that is not right, and so what I did to her. Now, could I have been more intense and more firm with that? But I was not for her as like a racist thing, and as if you're a non-black by saying these or these black this and that. Yeah, I could have been more firm with that, but by just like laughed or like I didn't think that was funny one bit. That was not funny.
Right. But see, the thing about it is that Deidre, this is what I want to say. And I agree with you because you probably was caught off guard by it, just like a lot of us was, right? But let me just say this. Stargate, we don't know if Stargate has a white parent. We don't know if that's what she heard growing up or that's how she talked to black women. But I tell you this, you being with having a black mother, if Stargate ever gets pissed off at you, and then your mother speaks up on your behalf, she gonna turn around and call your mother a black low-class nigger bitch. Do you get what I'm saying? Your sister a low-class nigger bitch. That's not something that you just say on the internet and you're going back and forth and you want to talk shit to me, like, and say, something. It's different when somebody calls me slow or whatever. I don't give a fuck about that.
So let me stop right there. So that kind of gives rise to what the whole texture of the live was like. What was stated. And that's kind of how it went down on that show. Then Alan decided to go live and do his thing. What's up, Anthony Osborne? What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's on your
What's
mind,
going on,
brother?
Not much, man. I had just dialed in. I was sitting up here and I saw you was live, so I just thought I'd call in just for a couple of seconds, man, and say what's up. I didn't know what I see your title is kind of like colorism,
Yes.
and you always going back and forth on that. You know, my opinion on colorism is it practices both ways. It's practiced among black men, and it's practiced in some cases among black women.
Okay.
My great grandmother, not my great grandmother, but my grandmother was a real light skinned woman, and she told me some of the stories that she had to endure as being light and not being what her as far as her blackness was concerned, how that was always challenged by not just by other black people, but by white people too, because sometimes they didn't know that she was black until she told them. And right here in the state of Delaware, where I'm from, she was one of the first black nurses during the 1950s. And she gave me a story one day that she was working one day, and the white woman told her, go over there and get that nigga right and get him and do something. She was saying do something. And my grandmother looked at her and said, you talking to a nigga, what the hell are you talking about? And she said, matter of fact, you go over there and get your goddamn self. And she walked away from the white woman. But she would say these are some of the things that she had to encounter because she got it both ways in some cases. But the colorism thing, man, is generally practiced. I think when it comes to black men and black women, both ways. Now, I do understand that people have a preference. Okay, and that's something that we have to, in fact, understand that people have a preference. I've had black women tell me that I'm too light for them, straight up. So I had to accept that and keep it moving, because that's her preference, I guess. That's how she looks at things, So I don't beat up brother because they date a light-skinned woman. I mean, I know that tends sometimes to be the practice, but I know that in some cases sisters do the same thing. I remember in 7th grade, there was a young lady I had a crush on named Sonia Toston. Sonia Toston was a dark-skinned girl. She told me that she did not date light-skinned boys. Now this was in the 80s. Now this was this was the late 70s, early 80s. She told me that. So I was just like confused, like damn, okay, but like I was saying though, man, it's a practice on both ends. I think one thing that my grandma did tell me, D. Darrell, bro, she said a lot of it was overhyped in some cases, especially during during the 50s and going to the 60s. She said it was kind of overhyped. She said, yes, during the 40s and 30s, that was an issue. If you look at some of the histories of Oscar shows, the movie director where he point blank would use light skinned blacks all the time. You see, but she was telling me sometimes there was a time in history where it got overhyped and it wasn't what people thought it was. So that's how I look at that, D.
Okay, but good, man. I'm glad you kind of talked a little bit, particularly with your grandparent, whatever, and her experience during that time. Like this runs deep for generations in the black community.
Yeah,
it runs deep.
Right, and and like I was saying, man, and so my preference has always been dark skinned women, but I'm getting it where dark skinned women don't like light skinned men. They have told me that. So and of course D. Darrell, I've been a passport bro. I mean that's what they labeled me as. And but my point is that but these are some of the things that again that I haven't endured as being light. And I don't even see myself as being light skin too. I see myself being brown actually. But I've had that from black women where they say, well, you too light, or light skinned men are considered to be the weak link, or these are things that black women say. And then when you challenge them on it, then they make excuses about it. But which is okay. But women do have their preferences, and so did men, and so do men have preferences. And I think that's how we need to look at it, and not be so upset and get personal about it because someone not choosing the darker skinned women. I've had black women say, "Well, he didn't choose a dark skinned woman, so that's not a black woman." I'm like, that's silly. And she's black. She's black. I don't care how light skin she is, brown skin, or whatever the case might be. She's a black woman regardless. You know.
Hey, D-Rail, this is what I'll say. This is my hope, bro, is that we can have conversations, because I would have loved to really hear you and Alan really have a discussion about this. You know, I think Alan is passionate about what he's talking about. I believe he's passionate, and I also don't believe that we can take his black card just based on who he land with, because you know he may be doing a lot of work out there for the black community. I don't know. We don't know. You know what I mean? And
with him.
Huh? Say again?
Y'all in the same city.
No, I'm in Vegas. He in Cali.
No, he said he was in Vegas.
Alan stay in Cali. Oh, he stay in Cali.
No,
he not in Vegas.
But he lied and said he was in Vegas.
No, he ain't. No, he was just visiting Vegas at one time. He ain't never said he stayed in Vegas. No, he ain't never said he stayed in Vegas.
I thought for sure he was, because he said some shit about I was in Vegas. I wasn't going to that shit, y'all. He started.
Oh no, he was just kicking it.
When we met in Vegas, I thought he lived there.
Oh no, he was just kicking it. But back to what I was saying, D-Rail, because like you guys are obviously you guys are well versed on this topic. You know what I mean? You guys seem passionate about it, especially this pro-black versus non-pro-black. And I think a lot of times we waste time arguing back and forth, you know, but we never get to a solution. I mean, it's okay to not agree. It's fine to not agree. But I think sometimes we are so quick to argue our point, we don't want to let people finish, so we just start talking over them. And us in the chat, people that are listening, we may want to learn something. We may want to get some insight to what you guys are talking about, but it's kind of hard when you guys are shouting over each other. And and I know that's the norm in the sector. I get it.
I didn't get a chance to talk. He the one was yelling. I was fine with the discussion. The problem, I'm gonna say this, man. This is the issue with Alan. I've had numerous debates. I've had numerous debates in this sector. I've had numerous debates in other sectors. I've shown you all debates that I've had in the manosphere with other black sectors and stuff. I don't mind having a discussion with an opposing viewpoint. Within 8 minutes of me speaking, I was asked questions and was interrupted. I couldn't even get a whole thought out. I would love to have a debate with Alan or have a discussion with Alan about this. What Alan doesn't like when somebody calls him out on his shit, then you want to get mad and run. I wasn't disrespectful. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't calling him names. I just pointed out that if you care so much about the black community, you would have a black family. It takes strong black families to have black communities.
But that's your opinion.
That is a fundamental state of hypocrisy for you to say you claim you love the black community so much, but you don't even want a black family for yourself. That doesn't even make sense.
But D-Rail, can you help who you fall in love with?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Well, D,
you can help who you fall in love with. Yes.
Hey, D, can I say something?
Yes.
Well, you know, one of our greatest historians he ended up marrying a white woman. He married a French woman. Shanked out the Diop.
Who was that?
Shanked out the Diop.
Yeah, Shanked out the Diop did do that, and he was wrong for that.
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me say something about that. Now, he married this French woman. But through the French woman, he was able to get access to different libraries where he couldn't go into. You see, so this white woman helped him with a lot of his research because she was able to get into libraries, and then he was able to go with her at times because she was white. You see,
come on, man. Are you serious?
That's not me.
So what I'm saying that, like I said, Diop made his decision during the 1940s to do that, but his work speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? I do know that Yosef Ben Yakin and Dr. Ben would criticize him for being with that white woman later.
Yes.
He would criticize Diop, but Diop's work speaks for itself, man. So I won't always go into his personal life and beat him up about it. You know what I'm saying? I just said, well, he did what he did. We can't take it back, whatever the case might be. Diop, most of his work was done in French anyway. A lot of his work was done in French.
That is true.
And
all of his stuff was in French. It had to be translated.
Yeah, and thank goodness to Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben, who criticized him later. For some reason or another, Dr. Ben felt he had critiques of that. Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark were the one who got his books translated into English. So the African people at large can read his work. You see, so they saw that even though he had the French woman, they felt that his work was important to the academia and research of African people around the world, particularly in Africa. They felt that his work was very important. Because Diop did some monumental work at the what was that? What was that he went to when he challenged all the white scholars and historians?
Yeah, when he did the genetic thing to prove that the Egyptians were black. Yeah, I know about that.
The UNESCO conference. That's what that was. The World's UNESCO conference. Diop showed up and jacked them white boys up. He said, if you can show me through DNA that the Egyptians were Europeans, I'll eat whatever I said. They could not show him from a scientific. Matter of fact, Diop was probably the most scientific at that particular time. As far as being a African scholar, he's probably the most scientific. He told him, he said, show me. So he did monumental work. Frederick Douglass, his second wife was white. Frederick Douglass, his second wife was white. That didn't stop him from fighting for the cause of black people here within America. You know what I'm saying? He kept fighting regardless. Now, I'm not sure how long he was married to this white woman, but he was married to a white woman. Whether it was a short period of time or not, he was married to one. But that didn't keep Douglass from, fighting for the causes of black people here in America. There are black women who fought for the causes of black people who had white men. One of them named, there was a sister on the Julian Bond Black Forum. She was, in all those years, I did not know she had a white husband. I didn't know that.
But see, what that speaks of, again, all of this stuff, no matter what this proves is, no matter how educated you are, how learned you are as a scholar, there is an influence as far as preference towards the majority culture and being connected to them. To think that by being connected to them, you're giving certain privileges and you can achieve things outside of your own community. And then that in itself doesn't strengthen black community. It strengthens another community. That's the issue with that. You marrying a person outside of your race doesn't strengthen the black community. What strengthens the black community is that we marry and we build within. Regardless of all the scholarly works that Sheikh Anta Diop did, and I've read a lot of his books. I've read his books. I've read Dr. Benakahin. I've read Dr. John Henry Clark. All these guys. But Frederick Douglass, yes, his first wife was black. She died early. He widowed. Later in his life, he was old when he married a white woman. I get that. But this infinity to think that you have to be somewhat connected, have to marry, regardless of your work, it's still a contradiction.
Yeah, but
I don't want to let me finish. See,
okay.
We are the only group of people that got a problem understanding that. Other group of people understand this. That's why when we try to marry them, they looking at the people that try to marry, they looking at you with a side eye. And even though you do marry within they don't even accept you.
Right.
And it's just the facts.
And,
So I'm saying the black man and black woman, why put yourself in that position? You don't have to prove yourself to no group of people, and marrying them to show proof of your humanity is asinine in my position.
Right. And what I'm saying, I can't speak for the. I mean, for Di, we can only speak for him now because we're on the outside looking in on his personal life. But what I would say with Diop, I don't think, or Douglas, what I would say, I don't think that they had some type of an affinity for white people in that regard. No,
they
hold
did.
on, bro.
You married one. You had to have affinity for somebody.
But what I'm saying, them marrying a white woman or a white man, I think, but particularly I'm talking about the black males at that time, that them marrying the white woman at that time, I don't think they had necessarily an affinity at large for white people in that sense.
Are you serious?
No, but
you think that was the first? You think Frederick Douglass marrying that white woman was the first white piece that he ever got? You think he tested the waters with about 3, 4, 5 other white women before he settled for that one? You think Chick Anthony Diop didn't bang a few white women before he decided to deal with that French woman he married? Come on,
okay,
man.
but this is what I'm saying. But hold on. Do you think? Hold on, and this is the point. Do you think that Diop hated himself?
What I'm gonna say is that Diop didn't hate himself, but Diop obviously had some had some issues in regards to some in-depth issues within himself or the black community itself or the African community that he came from, because he's Senegalese.
Right, Senegalese,
so
right.
That led him to thinking that he preferred not to date a woman in his tribe, that he decided to date a woman outside of his culture. There were some in-depth issues for him to make that determination. Yes. Well, no matter how educated, you can be the most educated person and still have self-hatred.
Yeah.
So
and this is my point.
Does not necessarily extinguish.
Right. And again,
to a certain extent.
I don't know whether or not he ever dated a Senegalese woman. We don't even know that. We just make assumptions to that. We don't know whether
what I'm saying is that if you think that he only dated and married one white woman, I think you're mistaken.
No, I'm
only speculating.
Yeah, right. And so
he just did it right the first time.
Right. Yeah, and so what I'm saying, as far as that's concerned, but I do agree with you. Yeah, black families, black men and black women should arbitrarily be with each other. Period. I agree with that 100%. They should be with each other. Period. Dr. Clark White was black, and he said Dr. Clark would say he didn't have that problem. So that's what Dr. Clark would say. But that's my point. Yes, black men and black women, and I always say that we have one of the greatest love stories of all time, and that love story came out of slavery, bro. If we can stay together through slavery, and we could take that slave experience that our ancestors had, and understand that we are all that we have. If we understand that, bro, and not get it and get distracted with the other stuff that's out here that's trying to distract us, I think our communities will be stronger. I think you'll see more black men taking the role of this thing they call leadership. I think that we'll have a better idea of economics, because those black folks that lived in Tulsa, they were together. Black men and black women, they were together. To build Black Wall Street the way they did, those black people were together. And I think that those things in history that we can learn from, if you want to learn. But if we don't want to learn, then that's something different. I got nothing to, I'm not going to argue with nobody on that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Okay.
Hey, let me jump in real quick. Let me jump in real quick.
Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Let me jump in real quick, man. And see, this is the one thing, like, because I'm listening to you guys talk, and I'm trying to understand the significance of everything you're talking about. And yeah, I hear you. In a perfect world, black folks would just marry black folks. We got one big happy family. We grow and we build together. All that. But that's not the world that we in. So we have to accept the world that we in. Black folks are gonna marry outside their race. so on and so forth. That's what's going to happen. And see, I think black folks, we waste too much time arguing about different philosophies. Because D, you're speaking from a Pan-Africanist mindset, correct?
No.
D, I'm talking
Right,
to D the Real.
Right, I'm listening.
No, so are you speaking from a Pan-Africanist mindset when you say don't marry outside your race?
I am speaking from a black nationalist, Pan-African mindset that focuses on the black community itself, and dating outside of the community does nothing to improve the community. I'm not. Look,
Okay.
I understand. You hold on. I'm gonna say this because you're right. In the world that we live in, you are going to have a percentage of black people that are going to date outside the race. I get that. That's the reality of it. And we're never going to have a truly homogeneous society of 100% of black men marrying black women and vice versa. But the problem is that, are you aware that college educated black men are the date outside of their race and marry at a higher percentage than any other group of men? Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not. I'm not aware of that.
Yes, that's a fact. Are you aware that our black community is hurting, where only less than 20%, a little over 20% of our black women are married, and you got another 75 to 78% of black women are not married?
Right. See, okay, D, I get all that. I get all those facts.
So we can't afford to be giving our best to other people when we got women in our community that are hurting because they can't find a good black man.
Okay, I get that, bro. I get that. D, I get that. But see, we can't worry about the ones that are already switched to the other side. We can't worry about that. We got to stop wasting our time arguing philosophies, whether we're Hebrew Israelites, whether we're this, whether we're that. And kind of like going back to like with Umar, we got to start at the kid level, and then we can change that mindset and kind of instill that in them. We can't focus on the ones that are doing it now. Those, like you say, those college educated people, they're going out, they're marrying outside the race. We can't worry about them. And I think that's where we go wrong at. We focus and stay stuck on the same shit, and we never get to a conclusion. We never come to a solution. We just continue to argue points because it seems like everybody wants to be right about their theory, about their philosophy, instead of coming to a conclusion and just agreeing to disagree and talk about a solution. What's the solution? You know, okay. I mean, that's kind of what
you stated that. I'm glad you stated that. So then, based on that premise, we're already practicing the opposite of what Pan-Africans or pro-blacks are saying. And look at the result. We're already practicing what they're saying. We're dating outside. We're marrying outside the race. We value other communities more than ourselves. We don't have unity. Okay. We're not doing anything as a whole that the pro-black, the true pro-blacks talk about. And look where we are as a community. We're living the reality of not being pro-black, because most black people are not pro-black. So, and that's just the fact.
Right. Can I say something? Can I say this right quick, D?
Yeah, then I'm gonna go to I'm Human first, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, but what I want to say is that there are a lot of variables when they try to pinpoint how many black men are married to black women and all that. Statistically, there are a lot of variables to that. That's number one. The second thing is that's a statistic I don't know where that statistic came from, Derail, that most educated black men are out married. I think that's a skewed statistic. I think that, again, that's a propaganda statistic that they use to perpetuate the ideal and that myth that all educated black men or whoever are marrying other races of women. I think that again, that's a myth. That's a skewed statistic. I don't believe that's at all, because again, most black men statistically are married to black women. So,
that is true. That's true.
So again, so I don't understand why they keep saying that, The educated black
Because
men.
I'm gonna tell you why they keep saying that. Because what they're
And,
saying, what they're saying is, the
but
more successful that black men are, the less likely they want to choose black women to build families with. That's the correlation that they're reaching.
right, and again, and if you talk to 30 successful black men, and when I say successful black men, I'm talking about those black men who got MBAs and all this stuff, PhDs. If you get 30 of them together, and I guarantee you, all 30 of them are probably married to black women, or in some cases, you'll find that it might be 4 of them, and that is probably not even married at all. But my point is that I think that the statistic that they always throw at us about that, but what they don't throw statistic at, that they don't throw statistic on how many black men are single. That's what they don't throw that statistics out there. What they don't show you statistic in the dating pool, which I think they're lying about this. How many black men are dating white males and other men? See, they never show you that.
Okay, I can answer that for you. But before
Okay,
I get to
hold
that,
on.
I want to go. Let me get to I Am Human first. We'll get back to that. What's up, I Am Human first?
Good day. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good to hear from you, brother. Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on your panel, but this topic really is, I guess, near and dear to me. How very opinionated on it. Um, I think in terms of colorism, I think in our community, uh, it's hard to be or reared or grew up and been raised in America and not have a bit of colorism in us. It's just hard to for us as Black people to not um, carry some of that with us. When I listen to even the people in the sector in the church sector, I hear it a lot. I can see colorism within our people. I think it's sad and unfortunate, and it's a hard thing that we ourselves will have to, I guess, rid ourselves with of. Um, and to follow up on a point that you were making in terms of dating, being pro-black and dating non-black, I think that is it doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't make any, I won't say make any sense, but if you're going to be being pro-black is to be, be conscious of where you spend your money, being conscious that you're dealing with black people. In the same token, it also means being conscious of who you date and who you marry, because it's all about, benefiting the black race at the end of the day. So, um, to that point, I don't want anyone to be misled by that fact that being pro-black and being conscious and being about benefiting our community is to date within our community. And I find it interesting that white people, Latin people, Asian people, they don't have a problem dating within their community. It's not a problem for
Facts.
a white person to date. I look at these NFL players, the white NFL players are always with their white girlfriends or their white looking girlfriends. Every time you see them, you hardly ever see them break code. But when you see our people, and I don't know even know if you seen it recent, that a recent picture, D Darrell, where it was a was it the NFL? No, sorry, the NBA, New York Knicks picture where they posted a picture of New Year's Eve, whatever, and it was like 5 of them, and it was 6 of them. It was 2 white guys and a Russian guy and 3 black guys, and
Right.
all three black men had white girlfriends on their hand, and the one black girl that was in the picture, the one black girl was with the Russian guy or whatever. He was he was in America, non-American. But my point is that we do have a problem when it comes to colorism and the way we date and call false suits what you're saying about when you're of a certain level, a black person, they tend to value differently in terms of who they're dating. It always comes back to how we are raised in this country, to value lighter skin and that Eurocentric looks more.
Right.
Mm.
Right. And
Well,
so my thing is, and I get this. There are people like conscious energy. We got a brother, Fatherhood Mafia, Corey Slater. You know, they're married. Listen, man, I get along with all of them. I've never denigrated anybody. Now, well, for Corey, I kind of did say some stuff, but it was on some other stuff earlier. You know, back in the day, we kind of went just some stuff that I stated. But for the most part, you choose. Look, I'm not going to denigrate you for choosing to marry somebody. That's your choice. Now, when you start saying I'm pro-black and I'm this, that, no, that's I have issues with that. I'm better. I'm actually fine with you saying, listen, I want to help my people do this and that, but I'm not pro-black. And I'm fine with black people saying they're not pro, which most people now in the sector, there were way more pro-black people in this sector back in when I first came in 18, 19. When the sector evolved into what it is obviously people from different mindsets, and they don't necessarily carry a pro-black mindset. I'm fine with that. But I'm about the people who claim that they are pro-black, but they're not really pro-black. The floor is, whoever wants to respond, it's up to you.
Okay, can I respond to something to what he said
Yeah,
again?
go ahead, brother. I'm gonna let y'all go. I'm gonna go out for a second. I'll be right back. But go ahead, brother.
No, what I was going to say again, this is where I get into the idea of propaganda. Now, that those pictures you saw, brother, that's why they chose those brothers, because they had white women. If those brothers had black women, they would have been chosen. Let me tell you why I say that. I remember years ago when the Toronto Blue Jays, when that brother hit that home run and they won that World Series, he had a black wife, but guess what they did to his black wife? When they panned that camera on him, they made sure they did not show his black wife. I said, now that's a goddamn insult. Now they made sure they would not show his black wife. And I'm sure later on he probably caught that too, like, damn, they didn't show my wife. Now, if his wife was white, they would have showed her. See, that's why I say sometimes we can't be tricked by how propaganda and how it works and how they do that. Because when brothers are married to black women, you don't even see their black wives half the time. The cameras don't even show them. But I bet you, again, too, they were white, they would show them to perpetuate this ideal and that myth that black men are always with white women. And again, I don't buy that myth at all. I think most black athletes are with black women. Most of them are with black women. So I think most black men who are successful are with black women. You see, I don't buy these mythologies about particularly about black males always got to be married outside their race. I don't buy that idea at all. I just think that's the game they try to play, and the psychological game and the propaganda they tend to put out there. They did that to a basketball player. His wife was sitting in the audience, and they wouldn't pan on her. They just said they talked about her, but they wouldn't show her. You know why? She was black. See, and that's why I was glad when you had black women like Christie, Doug Christie, I think that was his name. He played for the Sacramento Kings. They used to call her, and then when a black woman makes her presence known, that they call them crazy. Like, this black woman protect her husband from vulture women, and they got mad at her. She's like, they said, why do you want to be in his hotel with him? She said, that's my husband. That's why. And these women will come after my husband. You see, so I'm saying this is the game they play. A black woman that's protecting her black husband, who's an NBA player, they call her crazy. That she's not supposed to stand up for her black husband and tell these women, stay away from my husband. You see, so I'm saying when black women are marrying these black athletes, in which a lot of black athletes are married to black women, okay, that's something that they don't show until the black woman make her presence known. That she is, that's her husband. You see,
hey, right, bro. Hey, bro, let me chime in on your point real quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, bro.
Because I think you make a good point. I mean, I think you make a good point, and because like D-Darrell said something earlier, he was like, when Asians, white folks, they tell their kids don't marry black men, and like you say, the media, they've always painted black men in a bad light. Right. And kind of going to what your point is, the media, what do they show us? They show us that this is the thing to do, be with a white woman. So when you start just putting that on TV, you start seeing it, it programs our kids like, hey, this is the way to go. especially when we see the people that we look up to doing it.
Right.
It becomes normalized. So I mean, you make a good point with that.
And something else I want to say before the other brother can say something. And the other thing, and when you talk about black, Asian women always marry outside their race. Asian women, white men, they racially out their race more. I don't know. Again, the propaganda. I don't know how they say black men do it the most when white men have the means to do it.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say you. I'm just saying again because I've heard that before, and I always say white men have the means to marry any woman he wants to marry. Economically, he has the means to do it because, matter of fact, he has the image to do it because they make him, regardless of whether or not he can go into a place and kill 20 people. They still make him the ultimate man to be with, regardless of what he does. Regardless how many people he doesn't kill with them, regardless of stuff that he might do, they always make him the image of what a woman should want to be with. White men.
Statistically speaking, though, brother, let me lay it out to you. So statistically speaking, Hispanic women marry outside of their race more than any group of Americans. Second to that is Asian women. Okay. Black women are least likely than any other group of women to date outside of their race. They're at the bottom. When it comes to men, Hispanic men or Asians are kind of almost at the same as far as dating outside their race. Black men are next, and then white men are the least likely to date outside of their race than in any other race of people. When you mix both, let me finish. When you mix both races, both groups together, male and female, the two at the bottom is black women and white men are the least likely.
Okay, again,
outside they that's just statistically speaking.
Right, and Darrell, and what I'm saying, because white males again are in charge of making these damn statistics. White men, it's predominantly white men and white women been making statistics. Ain't no black folks really there say, wait a minute, that don't make no sense. How you gonna say that white men are last when we got for a fact, when we know as that so-called passport bro, the white boys was passporting way before black men was doing that shit. So yes, I'm saying, so white men, hold on. Let me finish.
White men wasn't marrying those women.
Okay, but hold on. No, that's not true. Then that's my point. So I'm saying, how do we get? Even a white man would be on the show. He would say, "Well, that's not true because I know lots of white men who are married to Asian women." Okay, a white man would say, "Well, I got a problem with that." Damn, really? Now, I don't know how they doing statistics by population or by demographically or whatever. But when they say that white males are the least likely to date outside his race, anybody with a statistical mind would say, I got a problem with that. Even white women would say, we got a problem with that. Because they would say, wait a minute. A lot of white men are married to Asian women. A lot of white men are married to Hispanic women. You see, so that to me would be a statistic. And again, I'm not a statistic man because of the fact that you can skew statistic if you want to do that easily. So I'm saying, just like the crime report, just like recently they did a crime, the FBI did a crime report and they found that they were inaccurate in reporting black crime, very inaccurate. You see, so I'm saying that all those years they're reporting black males committed most of the crime, but then when they did a truthful accuracy, statistic, they said no, this is not true. So I'm saying, it has to be when it comes to dating, you're not going to tell me the men that got the means to interracially date, to interracially marry, economically, you mean tell me that to me doesn't even make any sense at all. Black men are economically, he doesn't have the means to date a lot of women of other races because a lot of other women from different races don't even desire black men in that sense. They don't even desire black men in that sense.
Well, as I stated here, white men love to date outside their race. but they're not marrying these women at high rates. One of the reasons why it appears more because they make up a larger percentage of the population. So you're going to see a higher occurrence because there's just more white people in the country. So the thing with the NBA and other professional sports, most black men that are in those sports actually do marry black women. The problem is the black men, although more of them do marry, is within the culture. That's 25 to 30% that don't. And those people that don't, they're usually posted on television, as opposed to less than 10% of white men marrying black women. You hardly ever see a white man that is married to a black woman plastered on television, being together, living happy. You hardly ever see that. And that's just a fact. But when black men marry white women, they make sure that's known. They make sure that it's almost advertised,
right?
As being in vogue. So that's just the reality of the marketing of that.
Right. Yeah.
So,
hey, D.
I want to go. Oh, go ahead, brother.
Hey, D, I'm gonna drop down in the chat, man. Thanks for letting me up, man. Fellas, Happy New Year. Y'all be safe out there if you're planning on hitting those streets tonight.
Okay, brother.
All right, y'all take it easy, man.
Okay. Later. So, in speaking of things again, Mr. Allen here, I don't want to speak to this brother on. He wanted to go cry and do a video on me and talk about what I said, and he's gonna take his theories to other sectors, and he feel like we're low vibrational. And my position is I'm not low vibrational. If you're going to speak on my name in a negative manner, I have a right to speak otherwise. So if you don't want me to have these interactions, don't speak on me in that manner. You took it upon yourself to bring my name up, saying that I'm color conscious and colorist towards black women. And I talk about black women features and all that. You don't want me to come up and correct myself. You want to run off and go to your channel. And see, this is the thing. He went to the channel and he started talking crazy. Next thing you know, he brings his little DBA chat up there, and then everybody want to have a D-Darrell roast fest. But you're the one that's supposed to be high vibrational, and you're trying to do something productive for the community through what you're teaching. You see, these are the contradictions that Allen produces. I don't really watch his stuff. I just watch it just to see what he was going to talk about. But kind of getting back to the colorist thing, my position as a solution is that if we want to change this and have a stronger black community, we have to start raising children to value the black community, the men and women in the black community that they're growing up with, and we have to teach kids that marriage is a positive and is a important institution in our community. Not raising children to date around, sleep around. It's okay to have multiple girlfriends. Not teaching your kids to do all these things that make you a baby mama or daddy. This pimping, I got game mindset. All of those things are harmful because all you're doing is teaching children is to be irresponsible as adults with their sexuality. And that's what is actually going on in our community as we speak. Just as I told Gates, the case for Pan-African mindset or pro-black mindset is highly needed because our community doesn't practice it. And because we don't practice it, that's the reason we have the type of community we have now. So I'm looking at the actual condition of black people to support why we need to change.
And D, and to add on with what you're saying, and I'm agreeing with you 100%. And to add on what you were saying, was probably shocking to you, but I'm saying that the point is that you're that. But the problem is that on TRS, where I frequently go to do podcasts at, to talk conversation. In some cases, it's the guys who are in opposition of Pan-Africanism. It's the guys that are in opposition of Black family structure. It's just the guys that are in opposition of a lot of things. And we're saying, bro, the consequence of brothers got game and all that dumb stuff, we see the consequence of it is what? We got little John walking around the Black community. He wild, he don't have structure, he's undisciplined, and then when he gets older, he has no problem in pulling that trigger and blowing somebody's brains out. You see my point? Of practicing criminality amongst his own people in that sense. You see, he'd have no problem. So the consequences that with single parenting in most cases is what? You have young people that are wild, no structure. The most important thing, most of them don't know their fathers, because when the two got together to have sex, not to be in love, not to get married, but just to have sex, in the case of the heat of passion, that's what happened. I raised that question before with some brothers, and they argued me down. I said, during the late 60s or 70s, when those Black men and women met at nightclubs, it was about sex. It wasn't about structure and getting married. In most cases, they had sex because we had a generation of Black youth that came out of that. I know I was one of them to come out that. But when that issue is raised, Black men are in opposition to that and said, brother, I can't believe you said that about us. I said, brother, we are in fact are walking examples of it. So the problem is that we have to get Black men to admit and say, okay, yes, that was a problem. Yes, Black men, Black women not being married and raising children properly, that's the problem. But the problem is that you have some brothers who are in fact in opposition and will argue now and say, well, that's not the problem. The Black man not being at home is not the problem. I said, bro, that's part of the problem. It is. Because the Black man in the household, he brings discipline. And when I say discipline, I'm not talking about physical discipline. I'm talking about just him being there. I mean, I was telling my cousin the other night, I called him James Meakin Jr. because his father was James Meakin. I called him, he said, don't call me Junior. I said, bro, let me say you something. There are a lot of Black men that would love to be a junior, but he never got the opportunity to be a junior, to have that father in a home with him. I felt so much better being around my father the time that I was around with him. I felt so good to be around my father. You know what I'm saying? But,
right.
And
okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm human first. Any other comments, brother?
No, I just wanted to add to your thing, to your
sure.
Your comment, above and beyond that, being pro-Black is also instilling our kids to love their Blackness, their skin, their hair. I think that's a big issue within our community. You just look at the Black race and just look at how we project ourselves and how we change our image to look like what European standards are. And I think that's a huge part of us actually becoming wholesome as a race, dating within our race, but also just loving ourselves, loving what we bring to the table as the Black race.
Right. And to me, we got to have self-love is important, man. And I understand, man. Like go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll hold my point.
Okay. You find this in like, okay, I'm gonna ask you this question because one of the persons that is highly involved in this is who's in the middle of this colorist issue is a person from the church sector, and you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
With her and her situation, her exploits. Now, when she first came into this sector, I warned the sector about her. They didn't listen. And then now it's spilled into this.
Mm-hmm.
And so from your perspective, being in the church sector now, kind of coming in here and seeing what's going on, how do you feel about how she has evolved and now this is where she stands in this sector?
Well, I kind of was concerned for breaking the culture, um, because I knew what everyone was saying about her, and my concern for her is not to repeat the same bad behaviors that got you in trouble in the church sector over in this sector. When her and T Pre thing all went down on her channel, and I saw her going down that path, I tried to reach out to her to stop her before she did what she did, but I got chewed out. But that's neither here nor there. But breaking the culture, um, it's unfortunate that she has gone down this path, and the issue with her skin color and the way she's um mm, utilized that and spoken about that. I think it's unfortunate. To her defense, I if I'm being honest, to her defense, breaking the culture does have a point that we brown skinned people, we have the tendency of making fun of her or picking out certain parts of her, like her hair or her build, her skin or whatever. And if she were to do that towards us, she would automatically get the axe. And I've seen that done in the gossip section. She's in the church gossip section where they point out her skin color and bring that up, but she never calls anyone else about any black issues. I mean, game us about darker skin or anything like that. But if she did, would she be wrong if we're doing it first to her? So um from this sector, and if I'm being honest with you, Deidrell, I noticed that I don't when you got in your bag with her, I noticed that one of the things you did go attack her about was her I think you said her hair or whatever. You went at her hair or whatever, which
I
is
did.
like I something with either her skin or hair. It was
Yeah, no,
one or the other.
I went. Well, I did attack her skin, and what I stated was that when I did attack her skin, I was saying that um, she has over time she understands the pathology of black people as it relates to skin color, and she, even though she may not practice like think of herself as being superior, she knows a person who looks like her, some of the abilities
Advantages.
that she may
Yeah,
have at being persuasive in the black community because she looks a certain way, and she
exactly.
knows how to take advantage of that.
Yes. And
That's
I
what I
do.
see.
Okay. Um, I, I have to revisit that comment, but that does sound something
Yeah, it
like
was
you
on
did
those
say.
lines.
But I do. Yeah, it was along those lines. And I think breaking the culture does realize that her skin and her hair texture does give her certain privilege within the black community, and I think she does use it to her advantage. Trust to believe that well, I don't want to speak on her personal relationship or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But breaking the culture, um, uh, the colorism within the sector, it's unfortunate. It's it I mean, colorism is always I guess going to be a topic. It's something that we should have, and um, I guess it's continues to be an issue.
Well, I thought it was. I only brought it up because I was basically choked. I mean, they told me that I was being colorist to Carrie Ann, and Carrie Ann is not a dark skinned woman. She's actually on the lighter end of the spectrum. But okay, as it relates to breaking, they claimed I was being somewhat colorist because I pointed out some of the reasons why some of these Negroes was following her is because of how she looked. And I did talk about her hair, doing this and her skin and all that. I did that on purpose. And I'm, to be honest with you, I did apologize somewhat because they took this spill on this sexual harassment stuff, which it really wasn't. Because I was not repetitively harassing her, following her around, targeting her, anything. That was just an instant, isolated event But with that being said, you know, I moved on from it. I really don't have any bad thing to say about her. I don't have any heat for her. I mean, I don't agree with what she's done as regard to the sex scandal stuff. I don't agree with her doing some things that she's done, but I really don't have any ill feelings towards her. But a lot of women in the sector, that was pointed out, they have issues with the dark-skinned men in the sector basically co-signing anything that the lighter-skinned women do, and that the lighter-skinned women are talking negative and trying to have privilege over the other ladies. So I have some issues with that. I'm not saying it's not some level of truth, but I have some issues with some of that.
But that's the craziest thing. Why do we as a people have this issue? Like that what you just described. White people don't have this issue. Latin people, Mexicans don't have this issue. But when it comes to color, the different shades or whatever, it becomes a whole big source of contention and argument within our community.
Right. And the reason why it does is because we have adopted the same value towards color as the people who have oppressed us. And that's and so because white people have a whiter, that they have a mind towards color tones as being the whiter the better. But black people, the lighter the better.
Exactly.
And that's all influenced by systematic racism. And most black people are not light skinned. So therefore we isolate and people have a tendency to value those that are closer to white. We have to quit teaching our children this. When we stop teaching our children this, then this problem will be eradicated.
Agreed.
Yeah. But we're the one teaching our children to try to be closer to white, to value lighter skin. You want hair like this, you want hair like that, skin like this. And they see all these images on TV, and so they internalize that to think that they have to look a certain way.
Yeah, but but check this out, man. As far as valuing light skin, again, I think it's kind of overhyped again. You see, because I don't believe that. Huh?
You think it's overhyped?
I think it's overhyped a little bit, and especially in this day and time. Anyway, I think it's kind of overhyped.
Well,
let me finish my point. Let me say, I'm trying to say this. No, that's okay. No. I just wanted to say that again. A lighter skinned person, it can make the same arguments. Light skinned black men, they get it real hard at times because they're light skinned black men. I mean, the stereotype of a light skinned black man is what? He's soft. He's not as strong as the dark skinned man. I mean, these are all things coming from the black community. You see, these are things that are coming from the black community. See, when I was growing up, I never got the idea of colorism in my community that I grew up in. We didn't have this thing called color because we had light skinned brothers in our community, brown skinned brothers, dark skinned brothers, and they all were together. It wasn't none of this. I'm light, I'm better than you. It wasn't that practice that I even know of or figured out. So, but again, I think it's overhyped to a point. Now, do I say that the practice is not there there hasn't been that practice? No, I'd be lying to you if I said that. But again, now, like I said before, earlier, when I said I've had black women tell me that they prefer or they want tall, dark, and chocolate. Now, when black women say that, they get applause when they say that. See, people applaud black women to say that. You see, so I'm saying, so there is also a hypocrisy in our community when it comes to that. You see, there's a hypocrisy. You see,
okay, let me go to Conundrum.
Okay, go ahead.
What's up, Conundrum?
How y'all doing, gentlemen? How y'all doing this day? I wanted to add in, man. The colorism issue is an ongoing issue in New Orleans.
Thanks.
We have sections in New Orleans right now that are still segregated and based on your skin color. If I tell someone that I live in a 7th ward with my skin color being this dark, people will look at me strange. We have a collection of names such as Boisier, Moriel, Becknell, Hotard, Bartholomew. These names are synonymous with light-skinned Black people. We have St. Augustine High School, which is the very first Catholic, first Catholic high school for boys. Just up until I want to say the mid '80s, they were stopping the brown bag parties. Now, if you're not familiar with that, we had a drugstore in Louisiana called K&B, and K&B used to have these dark brown bags. So when St. Augustine would have these parties, and even some of the other people from like Xavier Prep and some of the other Black Catholic schools for girls, they would have the brown bag at the door. If you were darker than that bag, you couldn't get in.
Facts.
Now, as I said,
damn, I wish he. Are you there, man? I'm glad he brought this up. He froze, but I'm glad he telling this story because this is real.
Yeah, no, yeah, and D-Ray, don't get it twisted, bro. I agree with the guy 100%. Now, and what I should say when I say it's overhyped, what I should say, he made me think a little bit geographically. You said that's what I should have been saying geographically. He said, but the South, that's a different geographic. You see, so that's a whole different geographic. So he adds a whole different element to it. So
right.
I can agree with him on that, most definitely. But being from the North, quote, what they call the North, Delaware, Philly, New York, Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, you know what I'm saying? That to us it's kind of overhyped. You see, because I tell you, when racists or white supremacists come after Black people, they come after all of us, whether you be light with curly hair or dark skin. Period. You see, so that was our kind of our philosophy. But I agree with the guy 100%. I hope he comes back.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a little chance to see if he'll come back. But New Orleans is notorious for that. There are spaces in New Orleans, certain clubs you couldn't go to if you were a certain tone. And this was stuff I learned about when I was young. Like I said, we have a large percentage of really light-skinned people. A lot of them have Creole heritage. Louisiana has a high number of interracial dating and mixing, not necessarily marriage. And that's been like that for decades. So, and that comes out of it, Yeah. What's up, Stefan Gattano? So
California.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm human first.
Yeah, I hope he comes back. I was hoping someone could explain to me how they are able to develop these different sections based on your skin color. How does that happen?
How did it happen? Like with them sections of people living in
different communities? Yeah.
Oh, that's easy. Those communities were developed prior to segregation. Pretty much, when the French were there, the French had their own segment, and then like when France bought, when France sold the Louisiana or the Louisiana Purchase,
yeah,
to the United States, a lot of French people stayed there, and they were tied to the church, and they separated, and a lot of them were very wealthy, well-to-do, and they kind of segmented an area like the French Quarters and stuff where they decided to live as a community, just like having a Chinatown or Little Haiti and little stuff like that, and then as things progressed, white people living there, and New Orleans is highly there's also a lot of Italians that live in New Orleans. There's also New Orleans also had a time where the Spain owned a portion of New Orleans. So historically speaking, so you had those things where they segregated out based on ethnicity and what you could control, like economically. And the French, or well, the white people historically had white black women as concubines, and they were fathering children. Historically had white black women as concubines. Could you put your mute
I did.
conundrum?
I did. I turned it off.
So they historically were being with these women and having generations of children that were Creole and so on, and they basically procreated based on the skin tone. Most of them.
Let me go a little deeper, D-Darrell.
Go ahead.
There is an actuality of an event called the uprising of 1811, the German Coast Uprising. The German coast, if anyone is familiar with Louisiana, the German coast is an area where you have Barataria, you have Harvey, you have Woodmere, you have Edgard, you have Wallace, you have Gramercy. Though that's the German corridor. There were a lot of black people that lived in those areas that procreated with French people, with French Germans. Now, they thought of themselves as being different from the black people that actually lived in New Orleans. Right. So out of those unions became names like the Charbonnets, Hotard, Becknells. Most of those people that you meet, most of the black people you meet with those last names, Day, Feast, those last names, those are all German names. Those people were black people that did not want to mix and mingle with black people who had either traditional European names or traditional African names. So they separate themselves. Now, let's go back. If you come to New Orleans, if you ever visit New Orleans, you'll find that most of our prominent neighborhoods are built up around Catholic churches.
Facts. I was just going to say the Catholic Church, connection to the Catholic Church. I was going to get to that.
Right. So you have a lot of fair-skinned black people that were very well-to-do, that would build and raise their family around Catholic churches. Now, below Treme, you know, you would actually have to look at the function of the city, but the Catholic churches, some of the original Catholic churches in the area, of course, you know, St. Louis Cathedral is the oldest, but you have two Catholic churches in the Marigny, predominantly white. Then as you move up toward the French Quarter, you have St. Louis Cathedral. Then you move over toward Treme, you have St. Augustine. And these areas, and of course, you know, St. Augustine is actually in Treme, which is the oldest black neighborhood in the country. It's the oldest. But there were people there were black people, but they weren't of our skin tone that lived in that area. They settled amongst those areas where the Catholic churches were. Now, those people that were our bed turners within the French Quarter, that were our less desirables, those people were shifted toward areas like Pilot Lane, Lower Ninth Ward, and what is now considered Gentilly. Gentilly has always been black people, has always been well-to-do black people, but are always darker skinned black people. I'm not sure if any of you guys are book readers, but there's a book called Gumbo Yaya. It gives you a complete layout of the city and how the different types of black people lived in the city. People that looked like me lived in the Lower Ninth Ward, Gentilly, and part of St. Roch. If I moved, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, if I moved to the 7th Ward and in some of these other areas, if I could move there, it wasn't a very pleasant move.
Right.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you have any other questions about, how.
I know. I mean, I don't know the history as good as, but I do. I've heard history and I've heard stories about this from other people, family members I got in New Orleans. Being and people, being from Louisiana, I've heard, the stories about that as far as how people were kind of, separated based on that and living in certain neighborhoods and things like that. I heard people from New Orleans that talked about that.
I heard you mention Italians, but you have to realize that at one point, Black people were tolerated to live in New Orleans. Italians weren't. Italian was really a heavily discriminated class in New Orleans.
Right.
Black people were. Matter of fact, the very first mass lynching in the state of Louisiana were all Italians.
Right.
If there was a murder of a police chief, David Hennessy was the first police chief in the city of New Orleans. And there were some Italians that were lynched because of his murder who had nothing to do with it. As a matter of fact, you just go to your Google. If you go to Google right now and you put in "who killer" Killa, who killer the chief. If you put that in, just go to your Google search. It'll bring up the story of David Hennessy. That was as insulting as calling a Black person an N-word. So when people see Italians, they will say, "Who killed the chief?" And that's supposed to be an insult. Mainly because of what happened with the Italians with the murder of David Hennessy.
Right. And New Orleans got a lot of history of stuff, of stories like that.
Italians were heavily discriminated against, man, and it didn't get worse until they started mixing with the lower class of Black people. Then they took on the terminology of a dago. Have you ever heard that terminology? That's a Black person and an Italian person mixed together.
Right. And then also you got to look at the mafia, like Monticello. What's his name? Monticello.
Carlos Marcello.
Marcello came in and did his thing. Matter of fact, when I went to the Bayou Classic, I saw Monticello properties, and I saw that in the French Quarter.
No. The person whose property you saw was Francis. Oh, what's Francis' last name? If you look up New Orleans Wholesale Liquor, which is on Washington Avenue. It's owned by Francis. I can't remember his last name, but his daddy was in the Marcello crime family. And at one point, the entire city was getting liquor from him. But what I have learned to respect about Carlos Marcello is that he allowed Black businesses to remain in Black areas and did not muscle them.
Yeah, he sure didn't. He never bothered them like that.
Nolan Marshall was the very first Black millionaire we had in this, one of the first Black millionaires we've had in the city. Now, be mindful, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, one man controlled all of the gym uniforms in the schools. He controlled all the class rings being sold in the schools. He controlled all the cap and gowns, all the class jackets, your cap and gown pictures. Anything that had to go through a school came through his hands. How did he have access to that? He was under the protection of Carlos Marcello.
They ended up getting in trouble with the state over some stuff about his control of certain things.
Yeah,
he actually got arrested and went to jail behind some stuff with I forgot. I cannot remember. But
I can tell you what
it was in the early 70s or late 60s. He got in trouble with the state.
Actually, it was in the late 70s.
Yeah, it was the 70s. He got.
Because he died in 83, but in the late 70s he was indicted, a lot of stuff rolled on. And believe it or not, that's when Nolan Marshall lost his reins on controlling the public schools and the private schools with servicing. Right. Yeah. But not to fall too far away from what was discussed. That is how the sections of New Orleans. If you ever meet anybody from New Orleans, ask them where all the light-skinned people live at, and I guarantee you they'll tell you in the 7th Ward.
Right.
So are they still like segregating their lifestyle like that today?
Yeah.
Yes, today. Yes.
So you have Black people who are practicing the paper bag theory when they're choosing a date and
without question, sir.
Yes. See, this thing is deeper, man. See, we got to understand, man. We talking about. I know what true colorism looked like growing up in Louisiana. I know, you know, I seen it. You know,
right
I've
now.
seen it. So when people tell me this stuff about it ain't this and that, don't exist, it ain't that bad, and tell them, conundrum. It don't matter if you was a black woman or a black man. It's the same.
Nope, same thing.
Ain't no. If you was seen. If you didn't fit past the test, and then also this filter to the AKAs doing their thing, because a lot of every AKA, I'm gonna say past what, maybe 1985 and 90 or something like that, they all light skinned. You will not see a dark skinned AKA right now that's 55 years old or older. You will not see a dark skinned AKA that's over 50, 55 that's dark skinned. You will not. You may see some now, but not you know.
Back then. But you know something that's very interesting, man. You know, when Lincoln freed the slaves, each state had its own Emancipation Proclamation that was written out for their state, and the people that were freed first were those people that were in the military. Okay. You said Esplanade Avenue was Millionaires Row, St. Charles. Yes, there's only, believe it or not, West Bank Diva. There's only two black people that own property on Esplanade Avenue from the river to the lake, and I know one of them person's name is Carlton Charles. That's the same gentleman who they were trying to get the property from him. He's a pharmacist who's actually from the island of Martinique. And his wife, I don't know why I'm telling this man business, but his wife Gwen Charles was his front. Carlton is about my color and D. Durrell's color, but his wife is not. And so she was a person that was putting up the money in the face of Calypso Properties. But not very many black people. I think it's 3 people. I'm sorry, 3 people that own property on Esplanade Avenue from the river to the to City Park.
Right. Okay.
So what was I saying before I said that, man?
About the AKAs. TMK Media talking about his wife being dark skinned and she over 50. That's a rare thing, but I don't. She did not become an AKA in Louisiana. I ain't never seen no dark skinned older. She may have been somewhere on the East Coast somewhere. Nothing in Louisiana.
D. Durrell, I know what I was saying. The people that first got notification that they were free were people that were in the military. So there is a restaurant on Esplanade and Robertson's called Dizzy's Cafe, and there is a huge replica of the Emancipation Proclamation for the state of Louisiana, and most of those names that are on an Emancipation Proclamation are still heavily involved in Louisiana government today. That's the Boisier, the Moriels, the Becknells, the Hotars, the same ones I mentioned before.
Yeah, Moriel. We all know about the Moriel.
Yeah. Now one of the oldest name in Louisiana related to black people is Charbonnet.
Okay.
And they own the funeral home. One of the matriarchs of Charbonnet, I managed to talk to this lady for a long time, man. And she's 90-something years old, graduate from Xavier. She finished from Xavier in 1951. And I managed to have a long conversation with this lady. And she told me about the days when people in her neighborhood, people that were closer to her, that were darker than her, would ask her to go do shopping at Krause and Maison Blanche because they couldn't go in there.
Right.
But because she was a black woman, but she looked very, very Caucasian, they would get her to go. Yeah, they would get her to go down there and do the shopping for them in stores where they couldn't go into.
Hey, you know what I was reading too? I read I was reading. This was a documentary too, and they were talking about the Creoles in Louisiana.
Right.
And they were making a distinction between the Creoles and just the regular light-skinned black people. And one of the dudes said, well, he said, the Creoles didn't see us as equals because they saw us as being black. And he said, now I'm light. And this is an old man. He was like, I'm light. But he said, he been around Creole people where they looked at him like saying, well, you know, they didn't look down on him right in his face, but you could tell that they had this type of, not, you know, this difference of saying, well, you're different from us. And he was saying that he kind of talked about that, and he said that, yeah, they saw us, he said the Creoles saw us different as well. He said, even despite the fact that I was light. And he said that kind of, it didn't trip him out because he kind of knew what to expect from them. But he said he kind of talked about that within that the documentary I saw. He kind of talked about that. And he said that that it was a very interesting time because they saw themselves as French, more associated with the French than they did with regular black people just in general. He said they saw themselves as different, you know. So he kind of talked about that just a little bit. I do know in the state of Wilmington, Delaware, where I'm from, when Richard Allen, who started the African Methodist Church in Philadelphia, someone had brought to my attention. We were talking about history of black Delawareans, which was the last state to free the slaves. Matter of fact, I argue that these reparation hearings should not be in California. They should be in Delaware. But my point is that I brought Delaware up because within his church, an old man brought to my attention. He said, well, don't you know in his church that the light-skinned people sit on the bottom and the darker people sit on the top? I said, no kidding. He said, yeah. So he said, even in that, he said, Richard Allen, being a light-complected man, had a colorism issue. They don't know how deep it was with him, but they do know his church had that problem for a period of time. There was a problem with his church, and he said eventually, once he died or whatever, he said that wasn't important. But Richard Allen had an issue with that. I quoted author Oscar Schultz, one of our first black pioneer filmmakers. They say he was accused of that during the 1920s. He was accused of that. And his films of predominantly showing lighter-skinned people. He was called out for it later by a couple of other actors and black filmmakers who don't get the credit. You know, but as much as he talked about racism, for some reason he was confused in his thinking as well.
Anthony, I'm sorry to cut you off, brother. Are you from Wilmington, Delaware?
Yes, I am. Man,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I have a very hard time leaving that place every time I visit. It is. I've been there I would say about 6 times now. I've been there twice prior to the FDMG festival, but 3 times prior to the FDMG festival, and I've been there the last 3 years. And between there and Philadelphia, man, those are some very hard cities to leave, mainly because of their beauty and because of the history. Yeah.
Matter of fact, Delaware, they still have the underground tunnels where she came through at. Matter of fact, they got the oldest black church across the Mason-Dixon line. The oldest black church is right here in Delaware. Matter of fact, they still got the tunnel underneath the church where they found these bones of bodies. And of course, white folks, like they always do, want to get the bones out and put them on display. And
that's crazy.
The pastors of the black churches said, no, you leave them bones alone. Them bones ain't bothering you. So leave them alone. Let them rest. And
have you spent any time on Cheney University's campus?
No, I haven't, which is very interesting. I haven't spent no time on Cheney's campus. This is the thing, brother. I left Delaware in 1985, 86. And I moved to California, and I was there for 30 years. But I came back to Delaware within the last 4 years. I've been back home. So yeah. But when people come to Delaware, they're shocked to see that. My cousin from California, when she came to Delaware one time to visit, she said, "I was so glad to see Black people working in." She's like, they were just, because the demographics have changed. It's still here. It's still Black and white. So if you go into some of the common stores, you see mostly Black people working.
Right.
If in fact, if you turn on their station where they cover the politics of Wilmington, Delaware, most of the politicians here are Black. Most of them that got an office, the councilmen, they're all Black.
Well, as it relates to Delaware, the only place you'll find that has more buildings that have been made that were made by hand. The only other place you'll find is on the West Coast, and in some parts of California. I think in California they have the first Adobe house that was built by hand, but a lot of the buildings, especially Cheney's campus, if you've never been to Cheney's campus, anybody on this platform right now, Google it. Many of their buildings were built by the Quakers that assisted with the Underground Railroad. And the buildings are just beautiful, man. There's no better way to put it.
Delaware, it's got a lot of history, a lot of Black history, man. If you ever come to Delaware, a lot of Black history. I know we get a bad rap in some cases of being, the square from Delaware, whatever you want to call it, or they say, or we get a bad rap and crime, because Wilmington has a lot of crime, bro. Oh man, we got so much crime here.
You'll find you'll find crime wherever you go, man. Anywhere, New Orleans, we even have crime up in Washington. I mean, crime is just everywhere. You can't escape it. Now, the only difference between living in the Pacific Northwest and living, I have a residence in both. Is that in New Orleans, you might get robbed, but on the Pacific Northwest, they will take everything underneath your car while you sit in the damn drive-through.
Right.
D-Durrell, you're laughing. I'm not.
No, it's true. It's true. I know that they'll steal everything. It's funny you said that, Dad, because I've heard stories.
Bro. It's really bad. It's gotten to a point now that they're actually starting to. You have to, when you go and get your brake tag in some parts of Washington, they're now doing a stamp on your catalytic converters because they're stealing them, man. I mean,
that's bad in Houston too. That's horrible. I actually had two that happened to two of my work vans that I have for my company. They stole the catalytic converters. They did that twice. Took them out. Well, they did that. I had a blue van and a white van. They took it out of both of them.
Well, there's a guy. There's a guy he's in Marysville, Washington, and he was making what is called a 5-second blade, and it's a blade that goes on a sawzall, but it's made to, once you hit that pipe with it, it goes straight through it. Once you hit the sawzall, people won't get a chance. It almost sounds like a fart. And when that blade hits that pipe, it goes straight through it. And this guy was actually cited by the city, man. They asked him to stop making those blades.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow. That's crazy.
Well, back to colorism.
What I wanted to say about the color,
man. So go ahead, brother.
What I wanted to say, man, being on the West Coast and Los Angeles, Washington State, they're becoming the new interracial capital of the country. Period.
Yeah, bro. D-Durrell, you and your wife, and now Tiff, my woman is very, very light skinned. But D-Durrell, you and your wife walking together hand in hand in Seattle. They'll look at y'all like y'all invented fire. Like,
I've heard that too. That you hardly ever see two black people together.
Yeah, and Los Angeles is becoming the same way, man. Like I said,
damn, he dropped off, and the other guy dropped. Conundrum, you there? Okay. Damn, they both was in the discussion and they clicked off. But yeah, I'm getting ready to go ahead and log off, man. You have any last words?
Thanks so much, Peter.
No, I want to tell you, man. So much I do have some. I've kind of taken a break from the church sector content, but I got some stuff, man. I got coming up that I'm working on with Mr. Reed and some other things with the lawsuit stuff and being dropped again, and I got some issues about why all of a sudden these lawsuits getting dropped.
You mean his one towards the accuser?
Huh?
You're referring to the lawsuit that's being dropped. You mean the one he dropped towards the accuser number one, Devon?
Yeah, and then also, but didn't he also or was that the Bishop Whitehead that dropped a lawsuit? Didn't Bishop Whitehead drop a lawsuit?
I don't think he's dropped it. I think it's going to go to the next phase. He's exhausted trying to serve him via a course. What do you call that person? The person that goes out and serves the summons, whatever. So once they exhausted that, he can take it to the next level where he doesn't have to serve it through that route. He could just serve it some other means. But I don't think he's dropped the lawsuit as of yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've kind of taken a break from it a little bit, but I plan to get back in it a little bit in the future though. I've been watching some things. I seen Larry went live and stuff, and I understand with I think it's victim one, right? That said some stuff that you stated, victim one. So I'm curious to see how that's going to evolve.
Well, you get your ducks in order.
I will.
The word is that Tasha K is going to, or she's already interviewed him. So whenever she releases that,
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is he going to be on camera?
Say it again.
He's going to be on camera.
Yeah, he's on camera. I can send you the picture.
Oh, well, he's gonna sue Tasha K.
He can't. That's what's going. What he gonna shoot Tasha K? He's for doing the same thing that he does. He's
exactly. Yes. I'm telling you, Larry Reed is gonna sue Tasha K for that shit.
Wait, that's a funny thing because you gonna sue Tasha K and you can't even get your ducks in order to sue accusing them. You suing everyone but the person who's opening their mouth about you. That doesn't make, you see what I'm saying? That doesn't make sense.
I know, but man, look, they are here.
So yeah, I was gonna say, get your information in order because when she does it, it's going to be back up in the blogs again, people talking about his on camera interview with her, and I guess that's going to be the third platform that he's made the accusations against Larry.
Right. Wow.
Okay. Hey, D.
Yeah, what's up, brother? Because we're about to wrap it up.
Yeah, hey, bro. What do you think about Brother Dawa, man? Did you know that brother? Did you know him?
Brother who?
Dawa.
I'm not familiar with him.
Okay, well, I thought you might know because
I may have to do some research on it, man.
Yeah.
And is he in the pro-black community?
He was known to be on social media a lot, on YouTube. He wrote books on. He was always attacking people on the homosexual thing. He'd jump all over you.
Okay.
But that brother passed away, man. He passed.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, people was talking about him on social media. Said, yeah, brother Dawa had passed, and he was only 51 years old, man. They said he had he had prostate cancer.
Okay.
But then he got that resolved, and then it moved apparently to his colon, and he was saying through rumors that he wasn't going to fight it. Get the test and all that stuff like that, man. I guess he held on for some time, man, and.
What gentleman is this?
Brother Dawa. You know Dawa, his name was, I think his last name was Israel, something like that.
I don't know him. But yeah. I wanted to say one last thing because I know D. Durrell trying to go. But I know where this, where this topic comes from the previous post of the gentleman who's married to the Asian woman, and the conversation about being pro-black. I could be wrong, but my philosophy is that we as black men have a hell of a debt to pay to black women. And that is the way I see it. I don't think it's a bill the bill would never be satisfied. My son, who's an airman right now, was getting ready to marry a young lady. And I told him I understand, I understand his wanting to marry someone that he loves and everything, but I told him that, you have a bill to pay with black women. And, and one of the very first things you need to see toward doing is making sure you marry a woman that looks just like you.
Thanks.
Now and I told him, I appreciate, you find someone you love, but I can't participate. And the family got upset with me, and they asked me to explain it. And it's very simple. If my son, who's a grown man, decides he wants to smoke crack, then have at it if that's what makes you happy. But don't expect for me to go ride with you to get it.
Thanks.
Okay.
So we owe black women too much, man. So, and
what's
even
the debt
though
that we owe black women? What's that
pardon?
debt? What's the debt?
Loyalty.
I'll answer. How many black women just from a culturalistic standpoint? How many black women who has said, excuse my language, D. Durrell, fuck that black guy. I'm gonna get me a white man. Go ahead and take him in slavery. I don't care. Take him. How many black women has turned their back on black men after being stripped away from our families?
Well, I don't know if there's any black men. This in drill has says fuck the black women to take them into slavery. I don't know if that's written anywhere or said anywhere, or that is some stuff that there's someone that's made up. But,
no, it has never happened.
Right. So
that's the thing.
Right.
Well,
so
hey guys, I don't want to shorten the conversation, but I do really got to get. I don't want to drag this on, but I do get where you're coming from. But I gotta get going, man.
All right, D-Rail.
Some other time, bro. But thanks, D-Rail.
What you rushing for, man? Southern ain't playing today.
Huh?
What you rushing for? Southern not playing today.
I got some things I gotta take care of, man. Family stuff.
All right, bro. Take care.
All right, guys. All right, brother. I gotta get going. I appreciate you for coming in.
Yes,
hopefully,
sir.
I'm gonna be live on this channel next weekend. I hope you. I'm gonna be live tomorrow, so hopefully I can see you tomorrow.
Okay, bro. We'll talk.
All right, peace.
What time? What time?
It's probably gonna be around 3 o'clock.
Okay, great. All right then. All right. I'll try to get there. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.